We'll go ahead and call Washington County Fiscal Court to order, August 15th, 2017. Under correspondence, new hires at the jail. Roger, do you want to give us the names? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Dustin Schulte and Timmy Freeman, the new hires at the jail. And that's, you've got it in your notes there. I don't think we got him the form to fill out. All right. Basically what we do is we identify so that we don't have any mistakes, what their positions are. What is their position?
Judge Dustin is a deputy jailer and Tim is a cook.
Is a cook?
He's a cook, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I put you on the spot this morning, so
I'm good.
appreciate it. But we just wanted to.
Thank goodness it's early. My mind's working this morning.
Yeah, yeah. It looks, the date here is August 3rd this year.
Yes.
And they're replacing Austin Rose and Glenda Tweet.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And that was July 5th.
Yes, sir.
So just wanted to update the court on that. Also on their correspondence, July 2017, retire employees, Kenita Roy from the County Attorney's Office, Coy McCurry and Jeff Jaco from the Road Department. Is there going to be any type of retirement? I know the Road Department had their retirement party or
We had another inter-office thing.
inter-office thing. Okay. Didn't want to invite anybody else. I get it. Wendy, we'll remember that next time, won't we? All right, under old business, approve the minutes for August 2nd meeting. Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Under old business, last time we had met, I think it was 2 meetings ago, we produced a contract with Capstone. The fiscal court wanted to, I guess, reach out to some of the other city and county agencies that use Capstone, and I've asked Capstone Randy Fox to be here today, so that if you have any questions, you can ask them directly. But Randy, do you want to come up and give us a, because I think you're currently working for CAECO for them. Just give us a rundown, if you will, on summary of what Capstone can provide and what they have provided.
Well, thank you, Judge. Good morning. I started Capstone HR Services as a small business consultant on the people side of their businesses, primarily for businesses that do not have a personnel manager. I started in 2012. I was the HR director at the Iluka plant in Benton for 23 years. They gave me an opportunity to take early retirement, and I started this business, and it's now been 5+ years. I've done consulting here in Western Kentucky for different counties, different government entities, the Paducah Riverport, private businesses, churches, anything that has people, which is basically any business. So it's survived the test of time. I'm now 5.5 years into it. I'm actually doing, as Judge Executive, some training for the CAECO internal staff in 3 weeks, early September, up in Frankfurt. I also have worked in state government a bit. Governor actually has appointed me to an HR commission, so I actually represent Western Kentucky on one of the state level commissions. So rather involved in HR, been in HR for 40-some-odd years.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions regarding the contract?
If I can say, the only reason we have an actual consulting agreement contract is I have professional insurance, liability insurance, that if I actually advise you wrong and there's negligence involved, I actually have an insurance carrier, and that requirement is that to activate that insurance, we actually have an agreement and not just a handshake. So this is actually part of the professional business insurance that I have. So.
Correct.
The biggest scope of this project, or one of the main scopes, the front end, is job descriptions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and there's 17 involved. I have made some phone calls and discussed some of the people some of the references and so forth, and heard from some of the employees of those entities, and also the department heads, and you know, my main concern is that from what I have heard, the department heads and the employees, they think they have the ability also. How much do you use the department heads and the employees and helping describe that job and
Absolutely.
draw up that description?
Certainly, the best person who knows the job is the person doing it. So we start with that.
Correct.
In a perfect world, we would have that person write the job description. In order to be compliant with federal law, Americans with Disabilities Act or things like that, and consistent around an organization, you would have to train every employee how to do it, and then have some sort of monitoring system. And if a company is large enough, an organization is large enough to have an HR manager, that HR manager would play that role and have consistent job descriptions throughout their organization. So the best world is to have the employees start the process. The opposite end is if you don't have the time to do that, or the effort needed, or the people needed to be able to do that effort, is to have a consultant do it all. And that is rather involved, because you have to go out and meet the people, you have to go out and interview the people, and then do it, draft it and submit it, and let those people then with their supervisor fine-tune it and polish it. And that's probably what we're going to do here, just because there's not an HR person who can lead that effort. I would be going out and interviewing and meeting with the department heads in their location, understand the site of the job, understand the jobs itself, and then drafting initially, and I consider it just a draft, the job description that would be compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act and such, and then submitting that for then the further review by the department head and the employee involved. Eventually, where I'd like to take organizations is annually, when you have some sort of performance appraisal, sit-down discussion, the first part of that is take out the old job description from a year ago, perhaps, and say, okay, what parts of this need to be modernized and updated? What parts of this maybe we've changed? What parts of it the priority has changed? And now that number 1 from before is now number 3, et cetera. And so you constantly update. And that's where I would, hopefully guide you all to where this is something you all do on your own going forward in whatever performance appraisal system you have.
I agree 100% that there's nobody that knows the job description more than the person who's doing the job, but I think it's balanced out well if you've got the department head and the consensus between the department head and the employee, and not just 100% employee or 100% department head.
Absolutely.
And going through the process. I agree with that statement 100%.
And we'll take, this will be part of the scaling of the salary schedules, correct?
Yeah, that's what I understand.
You're gonna help with that, or that'll be a department?
Yeah, because one of the things we noticed that we weren't very consistent, so we wanted to make sure that the job description and the pay scale were consistent for what the employee was being asked to do.
Really, I will be responding to y'all's requests and the judges, feel for the need. In McCracken County, we started with policy. They knew that Judge Leeper, when he stepped in, that each department did policy a little different. Even though the policy was written one way, he felt some departments were implementing it differently. And so it did a study at first, just an HR review. What's the as is? And then from that, it turned into, okay, well, now we need to rewrite the policy. For example, the Family Medical Leave Act. They had no provisions at all for FMLA. So each group did their own thing on FMLA, and not only was it majorly inconsistent, but it also was not totally compliant. So we fixed their Family Medical Leave Act compliance and basically rewrote the entire administrative code over a 6-month period or so, going through the governance and all. So.
Yeah,
But I can do whatever you all need. The initial need, the highest priority is job descriptions to get you compliant, and then looking at the internal equities within your compensation system.
Right.
I talked with Judge Leeper and Bill Bartleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartleman also, and it seems like just what you described that you did for them is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
From what you're doing for us, and also talk with the city of Benton and so forth as far as,
Great.
and everybody was for the most part satisfied with the performance and stuff, but I did get a little negative feedback from department heads and employees that you know, Capstone got them to a point, or their comment was Capstone got them to a point where, you know, some job descriptions, but they were going to have to tweak it and so forth, and I just didn't know the involvement. But, you know, there were some people that didn't think the program was what they expected it to be. But now, like I say, that's not coming from the elected officials there. That's coming from department heads and employees that I'd had conversation with.
Well, hopefully they've had a chance to take the job descriptions and then, like you say, tweak it and finalize it to be the actual how I do the job. Sometimes people misunderstand job descriptions as to how I do the job, and it's a listing of job duties. Well, that's not a job description. A job description is what you do, not how you do it. And so sometimes people look at the job description and say, well, wait a minute, but I do this, this, and this. Okay, well, we can add that portion to it to kind of fine tune it, so to speak. But you know, I did meet with every department head in their office or on their job site. I went out to the wastewater treatment here in Benton. I went out to the fire station. I went out to the maintenance shops and then drafted what I got from that and then turned it over to them to fine tune. So I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, I didn't hand it to them as a fait accompli and say, this is now it.
Right. Your
job description, by golly, and this consultant says so.
Right.
It has to be their document. It has to be a living document. Like I say, a year later, they pull back out and say, okay, are we still doing this part of the job, or is it still these priorities? And so it's going to be a living document, and that's what I will bring to the county.
Are you all through with the city of Benton in your contract with them?
Yes, that is
Okay.
complete.
It's complete, okay.
The one thing to make sure we're clear on too is, last year, we did the administrative code. We sat down and we had the committee go through that, the fiscal court, got that put in place, so it's not, McCracken County was a little bit different.
Yes,
I know
yes, that's
Bob
where we
wanted to
started
be-
with them, but you've
Right.
already done that, so that's great.
Yes, and where we're at now, with putting the, we had the same issues with FMLA, but we've got the administrative code in that regards where it needs to be, but the pay scale and the job descriptions is where we are at. And it was advised to us it'd be better to have a third party come in and create that, draft it, so then that way it's not done internally. And we felt that that was good advice. That way we could have a third party come in and help create that picture of what it would look like. So I think that, was there any concerns? I know last meeting we had as far as the actual contract itself, any concerns? I thought maybe there were some concerns with the dollar amount. I think there were some questions as far as how much was being quoted as far as what it's going to cost.
Not as long as this is the work you need done, and that's not a problem.
I just didn't know about the abilities to, as Randy said, you know, he did it for his company for 24 years. I just, you know, we have an HR person in the house, and we obviously got a legal staff. I just didn't know about can you expound on what's the advantages of doing it, not doing it in-house, or maybe something that your company would bring to the table?
Well, let's see. Certainly, the whole idea of going outside is because if you had the time and ability to do it on the inside, the time resources, you would already have done it. And so the general, where you start from is we haven't been able to do it because we don't have the personnel who are trained to do it, or don't have the effort. Those personnel are so wearing 2 or 3 different hats, so they don't have time to wear this hat as much as needed to do the job. You certainly don't want to hire somebody to do this on their own, because in 3 months the job's going to be done, and you don't want to, then what do they do type thing. So it behooves itself, perfect project to outsource, so to speak. What you do bring is the expertise. I mean, I have a master's degree, certified at the highest level by the 2 certification groups nationally. Local experience, I understand. I mean, lived in Marshall County 28 years, so I understand Marshall County. So if anything, I bring a little extra personal passion to this job than I would have I'm not going to say anything negative about McCracken County, but I live in this county, so I want to make sure that we do absolutely everything right. My business really is to reduce risk, the long-term risk of the employee side of any organization. And you want to attract and retain a qualified workforce, but you have to do that sustainable to where you minimize the chance you're going to get sued, to be honest with you. You have systems in place if there is any kind of employee issues, that you have systems in place to address those before somebody gets disgruntled and leaves, and then bad public relations, and who else, who knows where else that might lead. So all of those are reasons why you bring in a certified, credentialed professional. You can do it on your own, and there are many HR managers. I mean, larger organizations that can justify having an HR manager. That's what I did for many years at the Alucamon plant. But many organizations can't afford to dedicate a person to that. So you're allowing that level of expertise to come in without having a long-term HR salary on your books. So.
All right. Y'all have any other questions? Appreciate it, Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've got the agreement in front of you. I think we're at that point. Is there any further discussion? We need a motion.
If you need to work, I'd make a motion that we go into this agreement with Capstone.
Is there a second? I'll make the second motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to old business. Bid 2 3/4-ton pickup trucks and 1-ton truck for road department. We had that, Wendy.
Yeah, I recommend that we go with David Taylor. On all 3 vehicles, it was $7,495 less than Leon Riley. And they're here to discuss the track lease program if you want them to.
Has anybody got any questions for them?
What's the last thing you said?
They're here to discuss the lease program if you have any questions.
We're gonna lease and not purchase. Is that what we're planning on?
They're here. If anybody wants to have any questions.
Well, there's different options in there. There's a purchase option and lease option in there.
Right.
Yeah. Y'all have any questions for them?
I don't know if necessary for Tim and them, but I do have a question. When we tabled it last time, it was we didn't know, it wasn't actually clear of what happens at the end of the lease, and that's my question. What happens? I think I know. I think I've been
Come up
informed.
and explain it. Let them explain it.
I know one bidder, we owned it, they had figured where we owned it for $1, the vehicle's at the end of the lease, and the other was being the difference in an open end and a closed end contract. And so that $7,500 suddenly disappears if we own it for $1 with one, and we've got to buy it back on an appraised value on the other. That's just, I just didn't understand that part of it. Maybe that's what,
The track lease is what I'd figured for you. Track lease is just simply a terminal rental clause where you set the residual as a customer. So at the end of that lease, you have an option. You can actually turn it back in. You can buy it if you'd like to buy it, or you can trade it back in for that residual amount.
which is determined by
Determined
appraisal.
by the customer. You would actually determine the residual. Wouldn't you be responsible for the residual? In other words, let's just say, for instance, we think that this truck's gonna be worth $20,000 at the end of 3 years. At that time, at the end of that lease, you have the option of buying the truck for $20,000. You could trade it in on another truck and get $20,000 on trade, or Chrysler Capital would sell that truck, and then if it's worth $23,000, you would get $3,000 back. If it's worth $17,000, then you would owe $3,000.
Okay, then the other bidder, we get the three vehicles for $1 apiece, is that correct?
Yeah, but you're basically paying for the whole vehicle in those 3 years.
I understand that, but which amounts, if my math's right, and what we talked about last court meeting, it is $7,500 is the difference in the two bids and the three trucks between the two bidders.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, we buy them back, that $7,500, am I thinking wrong, disappear real quickly because we own those three vehicles at the end and with one of the bidders, and the other one, we're buying them back at you said $20,000 or
Whatever
there's.
the residual is.
Well, for three vehicles, would the residual be more than $7,500?
On theirs, I don't know what the other leases.
I mean, on yours. Your trucks.
Would it be less than 7,000?
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to compare apples to apples here. One's an
That's-
open-end lease and one's a closed-end lease, and.
That's not correct, I don't think,
Oh, I'm
because
just asking. I'm not expert on it, obviously.
because their payments are a lot less than what would be paying for Leon Riley.
Uh-huh.
So at the end, you're going to be,
Doesn't that amount, isn't that where we get the $7,500 difference in the vehicle? No,
No.
it's not? Okay.
The $7,500
Just the cost
difference
of
is
the
in the
vehicle.
total cost of the vehicles, if you
Okay.
purchased them outright.
right.
Okay.
Basically, a track lease was set up to minimize the costs for ownership on businesses. That way, instead of coming out to purchase a large amount of money, they're able to do this and able to keep your monthly costs down. And most of the time, it's 100% tax deductible. Every lease payment that you make is tax deductible. Of course, you guys are not paying taxes anyway, so on sales tax wise.
Yeah, I just didn't understand. Usually when we bid these things, we've got a 3-year lease agreement, a 4-year lease agreement, a 5-year lease agreement, and an outright purchase.
Sure.
And I just didn't know if
You can go do the track lease up to a 48 or a 60-month lease. However, like any other lease or purchase, the longer term that you would go, the money factor or interest would go up. And
Right, right.
also the value would go down.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just what I'm used to seeing, and I didn't know with the bids that we received in the advertisement that was in the Tribune Courier, it said sealed bids for a 3/5-year lease and a purchase option for all three vehicles, and what we got was not a 3, a 4, a 5, and like I say, that's what I'm used to seeing,
Right.
and
Well, if I
Yeah.
could
compare apples to
calculate a
apples.
48 or 60-month lease, but your residual would be lower and your money factor would be higher.
Right,
So I
I-
don't think the payment would be that much difference
Right.
in that longer term.
I'm just used to seeing it in that form, and I just didn't know from what we asked for here, if the bids were, if either bid was responsive to what,
And they both turned in the 36-month is all they turned in. I guess 3 to 5 years, you can turn in 3,
right,
4 or 5.
They're-
but-
like I say, I'm just used to seeing the other.
And
that-
it is unlimited
it's more
mileage
helpful for
too
me.
on these leases.
Yeah, the track
Yeah.
lease doesn't have any wear and tear or mileage. It doesn't matter if you put 10,000 or 100,000, it's the same. There's no, at the end of the lease, they're not gonna say, well, you put too many miles and you owe this much money. That's why you set the residual
Right.
to where it's at, and then the customer's responsible for the residual.
I just knew we had confusion, and we tabled it in this meeting because we didn't know the answer. Then, Wendy had a meeting with the judge, and nothing was really decided at that meeting, is what I was told. And I was confused. Like I say, I just didn't feel like that maybe either bid was a responsive bid on what, this maybe because of the foreign fashion, I'm used to getting it in, so. That was my
I
concern.
just read it as a 3 to 5-year lease. So
Right.
I just figured that.
But then it's left to the interpreters, so I understand that too.
Is there any more questions? Is there a motion? Appreciate it, gentlemen. Is there a motion to accept the bids?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
No, I don't think that either bid was responsive.
I'm sorry,
I don't think that either bid was responsive.
was responsive.
I don't think we're comparing apples to apples. My vote's no.
Okay. Motion carries. Is Dennis here?
I do, I think there's times, though, that we should look at probably purchasing rather than necessarily leasing. You know, it just pushes things down the road. To me, it seems like, anyway, especially for these trucks that are a little harder use. Cars and things that are a little better, but if you get a little harder use on them, that end of the end of the term, you could see some issues, I'm afraid, on turning them in. There's been some damage to them or whatever.
Right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You want to give us an update? I added Dennis to the agenda. We had discussed this last meeting on the Park Board recommendation for the,
Yes. Judge, of course, the Park Board Foundation met, I guess, last Monday and interviewed 3 different engineering firms to develop the comprehensive plan for the park. And after we met, the Park Board Foundation voted for me to come to Fiscal Court and recommend engaging the services of Bacon, Farmer, and Workman of Paducah to develop a comprehensive plan for Mike Miller Park based upon their proposal in an amount not to exceed $25,000. And then upon approval by the court, then we would enter into an agreement based on that proposal. Also, Jonathan Perkins is here from Bacon, Farmer, and Workman this morning. But at this point, that's the recommendation to the court.
okay? Does anybody got any questions for Jonathan?
Let's note, Dennis didn't mention there was 3 bidders.
Yes, that's correct.
That made proposals and so forth. One was $51,000, one was between $30,000 and $40,000, and Baker, Farmer, and Workman was $24,000 and change. So it was not, that was, obviously it was the lowest bid by a long shot.
And that's correct.
I would make a motion that we go ahead with the BFW, because we do need a master plan, I believe, at the park, for our park.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay.
Under old business, the energy savings proposal. I know Brad's been in contact with both companies, and I think what we're going to do this morning is have them give their presentation. Perfection Group, if you want to give your presentation first, and I think, ESG, you're going to step out while they give their presentation. Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
As
Good
Matt
morning.
hands those out, I'll go ahead and introduce our team. First off, we really appreciate this opportunity. We think this is a very good program. This is a good opportunity for you guys to upgrade your facilities and infrastructure and use savings to fund that project over a period of time. So my name is Nick Roberts with Perfection Group. I work in business development for our Green Building Solution division here in Kentucky. One that passed out those binders or those folders, Matt Callahan, he's the director of our Green Buildings division here in Kentucky. Also have Tony Apro, he's the president of Perfection Group. And then Dave Blevins, he heads up our engineering team. And so we were all very involved as we went through this project and process, and we feel that we do have a great solution for you guys to upgrade your facilities and infrastructure. What you see in front of you is a turnkey, fully engineered proposal. It's yours to pick and choose what you want to do. It does fully cash flow, as you can see in our financial model, but again, we're flexible enough to allow you to pick and choose what you want to do, what you see fit, and we'll work with you to model that, that financial model so it cash flows at the end of the day. As we walked through the facilities, we met with each department head, we did our full evaluation, and we feel that this meets pretty much every need in all your facilities. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Tony.
I know we have very limited time, so I'm gonna move quicker than I normally do, so I'm just gonna tell you that right now. So if I talk too fast, slow me down. I live in Jessamine County, Nicholasville, Kentucky, and I've been there for the past 22 years. Why is Jessamine County unique? They were actually the first county in the state of Kentucky to do one of these jobs, 2009. And they did that under the state through KCO and so forth, and happened to be the county that I lived in, so we were happy to do that first job in Kentucky. I want you to look at this page real here, and I'm gonna look at it real quick, because this is what I wanna do. I want you to think about your building. When you built this building, by the way, how old is it?
1915.
1915. Somebody had to design it, somebody had to engineer it, somebody had to put all this stuff in. We do that, what we call on new construction work. So our engineering group here, we build buildings. We do that from a design standpoint so that we can say, hey, that's our responsibility. The second box in there is really the service piece. Okay, so when that building's up and operating, somebody has to service that building for some point in time. We have over 150 service trucks on the road, with Kentucky being one of our largest operations. So we have technicians, not quite in Benton, but we have them in Nashville, we have them in Bowling Green, we have them in Lexington, we have them in Louisville, and we'd love to have them in Benton if we could. And we would plan to do that, because we're gonna service this once it's done. The third piece is what we call the green. And this is gonna lead into the next slide. But so the green is, you never wanna throw a building away. So what we've been able to do with this expertise of this guy that's been with Perfection 38 years, and his team, I've been at Perfection 25 years, is we want to be able to take the building and re-energize it and make it energy efficient. Make sense? So that's our third piece. So we have three-legged school business. We design it, we service, and then we make it green. Turn the page, because that's the next key point. There are two models. Up until we did that first Jessamine County job in 2009, we worked for energy service companies. They would call us and they'd say, hey, Perfection, can you design the HVAC in this building for us and put it in? We're gonna sell it to a hospital. We're gonna sell it to a county government. We're gonna do a performance contract for them. And we would do that. We would be their mechanical contractor piece. And quite honestly, we worked for the ESCOs. We worked for Amoresco, Honeywell, Johnson Controls, ESG. We would be their partner. What happened? What happened was the building was turned over to you all, and they would say, who's gonna service this now? And I stood there one day and I said, you know what? It makes sense for us to do that. So what we did is we took the model and started doing it ourselves. So we self-perform the work ourselves. And what I mean by that, through this guy's team here and his engineering group, we do the job soup to nuts, 100%. Every nook and cranny of the work, we do ourselves and take ownership of it. Why is that value? You only have one person to talk to. And quite honestly, as the president of the company, and these guys, if there's an issue, I know. And we'll take care of it. But that's what happened. So what does that mean to you? That means you get a comprehensive building, and there's no middleman. Make sense? We're the guy. That's all I have. So I'm gonna step away and get into the soup and nuts.
Can I ask a question real fast? Sure. You all said that you had the mechanical engineering in-house, and so on projects, and you mentioned the other bidder, you all have done projects for them as the mechanical part of that?
Absolutely.
And others, is that a norm? Do other people that bid these contracts, do they, obviously several of them used to, as you explained, used to use you all for the mechanical part of it, and you already have that in-house?
That's exactly right. So we have the design engineers on staff, fully engineered, professional engineers, able to do that work internally. It's just the way we've been doing business for 65 years. So it just makes sense. okay?
And what that does for you is it adds value on our piece of the pie that we bring to the table. You're not paying the overhead that you might pay directly to the ESCO that manages the whole bubble underneath you. So if you turn to this page right here, it's the next page in your slide. It's about our history of success, especially in Kentucky. We're a regional provider. We concentrate on Kentucky. My team does only Kentucky. We have Ohio and Indiana professionals up there doing those two areas as well. But in the state of Kentucky, we've done approximately 70% of the counties that have gone through this ESPC process. Here's a list of them down below. The first one on there is Greenup County. We're finishing that project up now. We're in the middle of it. And they range from anywhere from $350,000 to $4.5 million currently at Pulaski County that we just finished up. And as we attack these opportunities, keep in mind, we're looking at a comprehensive solution for your county. We'll look at everything that we think makes sense from an energy standpoint, an operational cost savings, and a capital avoidance cost savings standpoint. And I'll give you an example. Adair County, we looked at 9 of their facilities. At the end of the day, they took an $800,000 project and brought it down to $350,000 because they just wanted to do the jail. That's their choice. It's their project. It's what they wanted to do at that point in time from a delivery standpoint. So if you go through this, again, there's more references in the back. We are just starting more into the city and county, but in the state of Kentucky, low utility rates, small counties, it wasn't opportunities for the big guys, and that's where we fit best in this model. So I'm gonna hand it over to Nick now.
Did I answer your question correctly?
Yes, sir, yeah, I just,
I don't want to make sure that.
I thought that's what I caught, what you said, but I just wanted to make sure that I
That
heard
book you
what I
have in
thought
front
I
of you
heard.
Is what we call an investment grade audit. It's complete. It's
Right.
ready to go.
Right.
So if you said perfection, start tomorrow, he'd say, I could be here tomorrow.
Thank you all for your time this morning. Moving to this page, we're going to talk about energy conservation measures, or what we call ECMs. So we start with lighting, things as simple as literally changing the light bulbs, retrofitting the light fixtures above us in this office. They have a quick payback and a quick turnaround. Then we move to what we call retro commissioning, which is where we would refurbish an existing piece of equipment, extend its life, try and enhance the value of your previous investment in a given piece of equipment. Building automation and controls, new technology there allows us to integrate things together so that you have one platform, simple control of things for scheduling, time of day, set points, those types of things. Water conservation, another ECM that we look at, things to, we normally think about gas and electric bills, but we don't often think about water conservation as a true energy conservation measure. But water conservation can indeed have a very good payback. Mechanical upgrades, replacing old and worn out equipment. You have a list of those items here coming up we'll touch on. Building envelope, things like roofing and windows, the masonry structure of the building itself, trying to keep that intact. This building over 100 years old, so we want to set it up to put it in good shape for the next 20, 30, 50 years. Renewable energy, things to look at again, fleet management, alternative fuels, propane enhancement is a thing we can do to vehicles, cars, police cars, trucks as well, to operate them at a less cost per mile. Water and gas metering sometimes applies, water treatment and wastewater treatment plant upgrades as well. So the typical ECM type functions that we all look at. So us and the other group has looked at the same type of things. We have developed, again, a turnkey design build type package. The next page here for the courthouse. And again, I know we're on a time crunch here, so we're kind of bulldozing through these. Stop me if you have questions. Lighting, again, lighting is a common theme for every building. Upgrade some of the worn out and outdated package and split systems. These are all high efficiency, high SEER, Energy Star rated pieces of equipment. So it's not the lowest possible bid that you can achieve for a given piece of equipment. They're energy rated pieces of equipment to establish rebates from the utility companies, as well as provide reduced cost of operation for the life cycle of the years to come. Heat pump water heater, water conservation, adding some exhaust fans. So again, some of the things we look at here are beyond the sake of saving energy. It's actually making improvements to the facility to set it up for the next number of years of use. So adding some exhaust fans isn't really an energy savings item, but it's the right thing to do for the building. Roofing, replace the roof, 30-year warranty on the roof, and fix some gutter issues. So again, rather than replace everything, there are some upgrades or repairs to be done to the gutters to allow proper drainage from the roof and reduce and eliminate the damage to the masonry that's taking place currently. You have some gutter backup issues, water getting behind the walls, it's damaging the structure of the building. So beyond just replacing the roof, making these additional repairs to reduce that damage to the structure. Other things simple as adding insulation, weather stripping, bend misers for soft drink machines, things of that nature. So the next couple of pages show some current conditions. You can see there are some ductwork issues. So again, beyond replacing the given piece of equipment, repairing some duct issues, you've got some canvas connectors, dry rotted split, flex pipes all kinked up, and it causes air distribution, airflow problems, zoning issues, and temperature complaints. So it goes beyond just replacing the equipment to air balance and rezone some of the areas where you have those issues to get the best possible distribution of heating and cooling and reduce your operating cost. Okay. Some pictures there you can look through. Roofing, next page back, a lot of issues with the roof. You can see where the roof membrane's pulling away from the walls, ponding water, a number of things of that nature. Gutters clogged and not draining correctly. So a lot of times you get a bid, you accept the lowest bid for a roof replacement, you get a new roof, but the seal around the walls of the structure itself haven't been redone, so you don't stop the water penetration, and you have damage then to the exterior masonry. So again, we're taking advantage of that opportunity to make not only a roof replacement, but repair the gutters, the drainage issues, the slope to the drains, and the seals around the exterior walls. Any questions on that so far?
That's just, I've never been on the roof, but that's not very pretty pictures.
It's not very pretty, you're absolutely right.
And I did notice, David, that your all's plan and your competition, they did not include this. I mean, you all have included, and my question to them and my question to you will be the very same. There was a mandatory meeting and site visit back in July the 11th and an optional additional visit on July the 12th.
Right.
And you all went through, both groups went through at the same time?
Yes, sir.
We made
Okay.
additional visits beyond that as well to.
Okay, I just noticed that your proposal was more comprehensive and you identified more energy savings than your competition did, and but and a little confused. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask both parties the same question. When you all your proposal and the energy savings that you all have identified in this same walkthrough with your competitor was nearly $4 million, and theirs was around $1.7 million and change. When this body, am I understanding it correctly, when we choose a provider, we are not buying an automobile, one for $4 million or one for $1.7 million. At that point, we negotiate a contract and go through the buffet line and get what we want out of your proposal. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. If you'll notice on each building, we have this list of what we call energy conservation measures.
Where are you
or
now?
ECMs.
Oh, next page.
So there's things from the roof replacement, new air conditioning equipment, new heating equipment, boilers, the lighting retrofits. You pick and choose then. Again, as Tony and Matt and Nick have stated, we're a design build contracting firm. So we lay out to you what we believe is your best long-term investment for each facility and its needs at the time. So once you choose us, then yes, we would sit down and go through line by line, facility by facility, what you want in and what you want out. And there are things certainly that can be adjusted and customized to meet the program that you want to establish. So to your point, no, you don't have to buy a $4 million program. You can buy a $500,000 program if you want, or less, or more.
That's just what you all have identified, and we choose as we negotiate a contract with whoever the provider we choose.
Absolutely. Your
Okay, I
comment
just wanna
about
make sure
the
that-
buffet line is exactly
Right,
correct.
okay.
Keep in mind, this process is not a bid spec. It is an engineered solution. It's not apples to apples. That's why you have a discrepancy in what we see and what their engineers might have seen from that solution provided to you.
Oh, it's very complicated, and especially if you don't speak the language, and
Certainly.
Now, there's value to doing it the way we do it.
I appreciate that.
So therefore, what happens is if you only pick a piece of it, if it's stated in the original RFP, and correct me because you guys are in legislation, you can go back and do a phase 2, a phase 3, a phase 4, without going through the same process you did to do this. And that's very common. We're looking at a phase 2 right now with Jessamine County. We've done 4 phases of Morgan County.
For Morgan County, no better testament than somebody that comes back to you 3 additional times.
To you.
So we could do this in phases so
Absolutely.
without having to repeat this process.
That's
What
correct.
you're saying,
Now,
okay.
and one of the questions that we always get is, do we have to do the whole thing? And we always say, no. And they always say, well, how many people do the whole thing you propose? And we always say, not very often, but as I'm sitting here this morning, I got a text message from one of the commissioners in a county up by Greenup County. He says, we want to do the whole thing. Okay, well, we'll do the whole thing. It's up to you. So it's your program. We're not.
Right.
You're good.
Very good. Detention center, same thing on lighting, new automated controls, boiler system, upgrade exhaust fans to high efficiency. You know, the jail 24/7 operation, so a lot of things there have a tremendous amount of runtime, more so than a standard office building, this facility, for example. So the life cycle of that equipment is really enhanced over what a typical unit would serve. So water conservation, another item there, because of the high usage and the 24/7 occupancy, we can have a real impact on water usage. Replace the kitchen exhaust fan, make up air equipment, and a number of pieces of equipment within the kitchen itself. To the point, a lot of the ovens, the steaming tables, the kettles, the dishwasher, all those things are really worn out. You know, they're beyond their existing expected life cycle and costing you a lot of money, not only in operation, but in repairs to keep them running. So most of the equipment in the kitchen would be replaced. Some of the coolers, reach-in coolers and freezers as well.
We've also identified, as we talked to Roger and his staff there, the cook situation there. What we provided allows you to do more batch cooking, so there's a huge operational savings there that basically anybody can do this. So I know that there was a strain on the staff, which you guys have hired another person in there, as you mentioned earlier today. But we look at that sort of thing, how can not only replace a piece of equipment, but enhance the entire operation so everything runs more efficiently, more effectively, that sort of thing.
So not only replacing a number of the existing pieces, but adding this, it's called a blast chiller for lack of a better term, but it allows us to cook meals today, or not us, you folks to cook meals today and prepare them tomorrow without going through the entire cooking process. Kind of like it speeds up the process and allows you to get the meals out much quicker the next day. Okay. Any questions there, Roger? Did we cover that pretty well? Very good. Again, some pictures there. Dishwasher, a number of issues in that facility, so a lot of replacement items.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
I know, as far as the jail, we've had several energy groups come and look, and the one department or facility in county government here is the jail.
Right.
Where we can actually have some energy savings. I know we talked with Roger. I think what you propose as far as the toilet, I think it's 4.5 gallons of water, and I think what's proposed is maybe 3.5, or I think the concern was the time, 30 minutes, and I know in his line of profession, if you gotta wait 30 minutes to actually flush the toilet, at some point, energy savings and operational function, we have to find that fine line, so that, I don't know if there's anything on the market.
Are you saying that you have to wait, once you flush, you gotta wait 30 minutes?
Mhm.
No, I don't think that's correct. You can, no, what the idea behind the 4.5 to 3.5, we can go down to around a 2.5.
Okay.
But we chose 3.5 because the water pressure in the building and what his men are used to, the flushes, we don't know the internal pipes. This allows it still to evacuate without getting clogged up. But we feel that at 2.5 or less than 2.5 gallons per flush, you're going to experience more problems than what we're solving.
are those problems identified? Because obviously, problems equate to dollars. Has that been something that's been identified to where we're limited to 3.5 gallons, or
No.
can we go to 2.5?
That's where we could, but again, we want to go with a product there that's going to provide adequate service without, to your point, going to
Right.
the extent of saving money, but creating repair costs. So there's a fine line there.
We could do this, we could put 2.5 gallon in and test it. Once you choose us, test it, and if that makes sense to do that, and we don't have problems, that's fine. We're taking our energy savings based on 3.5 gallons because we feel that's the best process for what you've got installed currently, without changing everything inside there. Does that make sense?
It does. I just want to make sure that the operations at the jail are not compromised when we're saving energy.
Absolutely.
Are there such thing as that, or?
There's more of a time limit on your shower delivery. And, if you want to keep showers in the morning for an hour or 2 hours, then you can do that. There's controls that you can put on that. And the timing on, have to push a button every 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever you choose, you can control that way as well. Okay? But there's no limits on how many times you can flush it or no wait times you can flush it.
Okay.
Are you satisfied with that, Roger? Okay.
Very good. Moving on, Judicial Center, same type of discussion there, lighting, some retro commissioning. Again, retro commissioning is refurbishing your existing investment, so not just wholesale replace things, but extend the life and enhance the operation of some of the existing equipment that you have to, again, extend the life of that investment previously made. We do want to replace the water source heat pumps. There are 48 of them. They're beyond their expected life cycle. They're also utilizing the more ozone damaging R22 refrigerant, so we're going to change refrigerants, move to the R410A refrigerant. It's less damaging to the ozone layer and more environmentally friendly. So some upgrades along with the equipment replacement, more efficient but less damaging to the atmosphere as well.
Also, there were a few issues as we did, that the maintenance crew had mentioned with these water source heat pumps that they had over time, and we felt doing a full replacement of all 48 with the condition of the cooling tower that you had just previously replaced, that's probably the case with the water source heat pumps that we've examined, so
Right.
that's the reason we went with all 48. And they're 15 years old, as Dave mentioned, past their useful life. So
They even make 22 refrigerant anymore?
it's being phased out right now.
Yeah.
And the cost is skyrocketing.
One of the entities in Calvert City produces that, and I knew they had switched over and don't do it anymore, so.
Yeah, the cost of that is skyrocketing
Right.
as well, becoming more and more difficult to obtain. Boilers there, controls as well, and then again, some water conservation. Okay.
Everything in that building's 15 years old, typically at the end of its useful life. It's been well maintained.
Another piece on that, Dave mentioned the retro commissioning. There's some sophisticated systems over there, and one of the big keys for Mr. Teckenbrock was servicing after the fact and maintenance, wanting a preventative maintenance contract on these things because of the abilities and the time constraints that his crew has. And that's the piece that Tony had mentioned, our service crews, 150 technicians on the streets that we feel we can add value there as well.
Yeah, and I know we had another discussion as far as the judicial building and then the jail, 911 and the sheriff's office. That's not the same program. The 15-year, I think, is what we were talking about, was replaced, your system was replaced when?
Your control system, your allergen control system, okay. We were totally different from judicial. I don't think we understood that fully on that side of it, but certainly can pull that back. We were going to replace everything with a new open protocol, open echelon system, so
Right.
that Gary could work with it, Judge, you could work with Brad, everybody could
Right.
see this stuff over the web, and any good service company can work on these things. They're not held to a proprietary system that you have to call in XYZ company every time, and that kind of got you handcuffed with your options on those types of systems, which is what we see there. But that can certainly be addressed.
in all the systems. We want you to be as self-sufficient as you want to be. We're here to support you in
Right.
the long term, but we're not here to lock you up so that you have to call us. We want you to be able to buy parts and service wherever you so choose, and we're here to support you to whatever level you're comfortable with. Okay. At the Mike Miller County Park, some lighting, split systems again, web-enabled programmable thermostats. So the idea of the control system is to put them all on a common platform, again, with appropriate password. Not anybody can access it, but with appropriate password and access level, anyone that you deem available can make changes to operating set points, time schedules, things of that nature. Get notice of an imminent failure before it becomes a catastrophic problem, particularly at the jail. Some early notice of a boiler issue or what have you might be very helpful. Road department, again, lighting, some retro commissioning to infrared tube heaters, replace a couple of systems again, some door seals and weather stripping items. Maintenance garage, very similar in that regard, lighting, high efficiency infrared tube heaters, replace a split system, web-enabled thermostats again, things to kind of bundle all the facilities together for you from a control standpoint. Okay. Moving on, there was discussion. Any other questions on the mechanical pieces? Again, we self-perform the mechanical portions, and a couple of key points to that is, one is you have a perfection paid employee, we call them associates, on site every day. So key difference there, rather than everybody being a subcontractor, you have our employees on site every day. Our project manager is a certified safety professional. So he not only oversees our folks and provides training to our people, but also oversees our subcontractors. And certainly a key important item is to deliver a safe, on-time, on-budget project.
I think that's Billy, I forget his last name, the one that, as far as the project manager, if chosen.
Bill Lippert,
Yeah, Bill Lippert. Where does he live?
he is in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, okay.
Right. He's running the Glasgow project for us currently, so he's, City of Louisa will be Bill's project as well. So he would be assigned to this, and again, he's been with Perfection 36 years, almost as long as I have, so
All right,
a very dedicated associate as well.
gotcha.
Okay. There was discussion before about some leasing. So fleet management is another item that can be put into the project. It allows you to replenish the sheriff's cars and the county's vehicles. So every few years you get a new vehicle, and you take some of that cost of buying and selling and that responsibility away from the county and put some of that burden to a leasing company. So that can be very beneficial. Alternative fuels, we say converting to liquid propane. It's not truly a conversion, it's more of an enhancement kit, so the vehicle could still burn not only gasoline as it does today, flip a switch, it changes to propane. Some savings there because the propane cost is significantly less than gasoline that we buy today. So it becomes a dual fuel vehicle, allows you extended mileage, obviously, and reduced cost of operation.
I do have one question. The maintenance garage and the fleet system, I don't think, to my understanding, that we didn't put that into
Which part?
the fleet system,
The fleet and the LP
the fleet and the maintenance garage.
I thought the maintenance garage was, I think the maintenance garage was in there. Maybe the fleet you asked for in the RFP, other or renewable type opportunities or outside the box energy conservations or savings measures. And that's where the fleet and the
Right.
LP gas comes in on that.
Okay. So that would be something other than
Other
as a fuel
items.
savings or
Yes.
energy savings? Okay,
Other things that you can consider
okay.
as bundling into the project.
As far as the LP, what kind of performance decline do you see?
It's
Is there
actually-
any?
It's actually very similar to normal gasoline. Less byproduct, less wear and tear on the engine itself, and the mileage is listed as, what, a 10% reduction, I think, in actual mileage of the vehicle.
Any reduction in horsepower?
No.
What about space?
That's a great point.
Takes up a lot of
Carter
trunk
County has
space.
the first program in the state from a county standpoint. They've outfitted their sheriff's vehicles and their detention center vehicles because they run a federal prison program up and down the road from Miami to Michigan, okay? Space is a key. We understand that. There are two different types of tanks, depending on the vehicles you want or where the tank availability is. Typically, a cylinder-type tank, cylindrical, will fit up where the spare tire goes. I don't know if you keep spare tires in your vehicles. You take them out? Okay.
Yeah, I
That's
have
where
to.
that fits, because most law enforcement don't. If they got a problem, they're gonna call somebody, okay? Second of all, there's a donut-shaped tire or a tank that will go into where the spare tire fits, and you can keep it underneath there and then cover it up and utilize the space still that you would have lost if taking that, with that tire, taking the tire out still. That makes sense? But we haven't had any problems or complaints from the folks at Carter County on the space. They work with it well, and there's a lot of municipal law enforcement groups that have gone to liquid propane. There is a vehicle that we can provide to you to try. The Carter County Sheriff was very skeptical about loss of horsepower, the loss of performance. As you drive down the road, let's say one of your deputies is in a high-speed chase and he's got this much propane left. It automatically switches over when that runs out to gasoline, and it's a cylinder a second, and you don't even notice the transition. And with this vehicle, you can press the button as you're driving down the road just to see the performance and switch between gas and propane, just like that. So there is no loss of performance from that standpoint.
Thank you.
Just for a little more edification, the judge at Carter County is buying propane at 79 cents a gallon. So there's some very, very serious savings related and associated with the LP gases.
I also talked with some of the references. I talked with the Carter County Judge Executive Mike Malone, and he was telling me that because I met with Roger Ford yesterday on the jail issues, and I know some of this wasn't in the other proposal, and there's several things were in y'all's proposal that the other outfit didn't recognize or didn't bid on and so forth. But he was, as the sheriff said, he was in questioning that. He was very skeptical, and he told me the same thing. I talked to him about 45 minutes last week, and he mentioned the fact that the sheriff in Carter County was very skeptical, and at first now he loves it. And
it's been a good program for that. Now, if you go to the next page, I want to kind of wrap up the project metrics from a standpoint of cost savings and net positive cash flow. The book describes these ECMs in detail. They're fully costed, they're fully estimated, and if you did everything in that book that we have provided under this program, it would cost you $3.95 million. You don't have to do everything, and we'll scale back the savings model, operational savings, the capital avoidance savings, depending on what you want based on the shopping list that you pick. It's easy. It's easy. It's all been costed. We are ready to go tomorrow if you chose the whole program. The 20-year program savings, now this is financed over 15 years, but we take this 20-year savings model, and you're saving about $6,133. So it's a net, I'm sorry, $6,133,000. Net positive cash flow of about $1.2 million. That's with a rate that we've investigated with CAECO of around 2.8, somewhere right in there. They said it's a little aggressive, but they felt it was very comfortable, all-in costs for that. And one important piece of this process is the measurement and verification. And that's how do we make sure that this works after we complete the project? Well, this is a true partnership because we don't go away. Normal process, your contractor finishes and you don't ever see him again. You can't even call them to find out how to fix something, or if you need help, sometimes they're not available. We're here with you. We have to come back and make sure under the legislation that this project is performing properly. And how do we do that? We have a protocol in place. It's an international standard called measurement and verification, which we do that. It's your option to do that as long as you want to maintain the guarantee with the project. Okay? We include that cost in the first 3 years because we want you to feel comfortable that you don't have to have an extra expense every year for that process, because it is an additional expense to the project. We include that so that you have a comfort level. We're going to see how this trends out first year, second year, third year. Part of this process, there's no change orders on this. If we say we're coming to the market at $3.9 million, that's what you're going to pay, no more. Additionally, if there is a problem, let's say we don't meet the guarantee the first year, and we've got a significant delta, maybe $5,000–10,000. We're going to investigate why there was a shortfall in the savings, and we're going to remedy that on our own dime. You don't have to pay for that. We want to make it at least budget neutral and meet the savings model every year. Does that make sense? Because that's a win-win situation for everybody. We're not in the business of writing checks. We haven't written one yet, and we don't want to experience that issue because that means we've missed something, done something wrong. Now, we'll fix it, but again, the idea is to make it a good project from the beginning and a win-win for everybody in the county.
And on that note as well, of our guarantees, we're achieving 150 or 159% of savings is what we've averaged so far. So you have a 59% going straight to the bottom line that you can do with whatever you want with your county budgets.
That was actually one of my questions, was going to be the M&V and the maintenance, how it's in 3%, and it's required for those 3 years.
Well, we do that only because we want to make sure that you're getting what you're paying for, okay? You don't have to do it for 3 years. We
Right.
can certainly extrapolate that out, okay? And cost it on an annual basis, but we feel that it's better to include that because it gives you a comfort level and gives us a comfort level. And we typically see after a 2 to 3 year period, if this trends properly, you guys may not want to spend that X amount of dollars every year for the next 15 years or 20 years, whatever you guys decide to do with a guarantee, because it's a costly process for you. Can be. It's a revenue stream for us. We're happy to do it, but we don't feel like maybe that's something that the court wants to continue as long as the trends are in the right direction from a savings standpoint.
And I think the maintenance, is that local, if we choose use a local maintenance provider or vendor?
As long as they can do the maintenance and they're certified to do the maintenance, you can certainly provide a local provider. We have a snapshot of a cost based on potentially what you put in new, what you don't put in new, et cetera. We are able to provide that service, and it's something to be determined that's outside the scope of the project, okay? But we're happy to do it. Carter County liked the fact that we did do the service, and they hired us to do the service because at the end of the day, when these projects go in, and if we do them, Judge Malone's comment was, you know what, you can only point the finger at yourself if you can't fix it or work on it. So he liked the whole turnkey accountability that we provided from project installation to service at the end.
But on that note as well, we understand that using local resources is vital to the economy here, and we're going to buy everything we can here in Marshall County. We've looked at already vendors. Mentor Roofing provided a quote for us on the roof itself. So we understand that, and using local vendors for any piece of this,
Yes.
we're more than happy to do that if they meet the specifications and can perform the work. So you have that option that we can self-perform it, one point of contact, and also use the local resources as well.
I had the same question on the measurements and verification, and I noticed that the judge did and concerned you all included for the first 3 years. And if I'm not mistaken, your competitor has a $19,000 cost annually for 15 years.
That's-
And
If they do that, then that's probably what they're saying it's going to cost you to measure.
well, I assume that's what I assumed, if the cost was $19,000 for all 15 years. The reason that, and certainly I would want somebody measuring and verifying that what you told us or the other outfit told us was accurate. So I certainly see doing it for at least a period of time, but I don't really understand, once you're comfortable that it's doing what you said you do and there's a pattern there, I don't know of the need to spend $19,000 a year is what, I believe that's what that may be. That's ballpark anyway. I'm pretty sure it's 19 that they projected out per year annually.
I have no
That's
Is that
certainly.
right? Was that right?
That's certainly, my point before, that's certainly your choice.
Right.
We like to see it prove itself out for the comfort level for the whole project and.
Oh, I would too.
Because we have to report these to the state as well.
At least initially, till I got comfortable.
Service agreement,
Right.
and, I'll be honest with you, we are a regional provider. We are only Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, and West Virginia. That's all we do, with Kentucky being the bulk of our performance contracting work. We have 985 service contracts. Of those 985 service contracts across the state and in other areas, we lose roughly 7 to 8% of them a year. 5% of them we lose because they move or go out of business. So we generally keep a service contract as long as the customer wants. We are not going to force you to keep a service contract because quite honestly, things can change for you. You may become sufficient in 3 years to do it yourself. And if we do our job right, and hopefully we do, you will do that. But we'll never go away. You know, the average contract we have in our base right now is 11 years. So that's key, the service piece. Is that it? Timeline, Matt, you have?
Yeah, you guys had some program goals which are consistent with most counties' needs from the standpoint of saving money, preserving your capital funds, improving your infrastructure, et cetera. And you had a timeline based on a pretty fast-tracked process to get this thing moved through. With the way we've approached this RFP, we've completed our process. So if you look down at the bottom there, ESCO RFPs, about the fourth one down, RFP responses due, completed, turnkey solution. It's up to you guys now to pick and choose. Do you want to do the whole thing? Do you want to do part of it? Enter into a negotiated discussion about that process. So from this day forward, we are ready to hit the road. We don't have any more engineering to do. We don't have any more anything else to do except to work with you on defining a scope and working with your financing options that you might choose. Okay, and we're ready to go. I imagine if things went well, we could even start construction before December. So that's something that to look at. Last final comment. You guys, what you're looking at doing here, you're looking at fixing things for the county for the next 15 to 20 years. Down that road, 15 to 20 years from now, they're probably going through the same process based on the fact that it's the end of the next life cycle. Again, like Tony said, this is a 102-year-old building. You're not going to throw it away in 20 years. It's still going to be here. It's a centerpiece for the county. So you'll have to renovate and retrofit again. So you'll be going through the same process. But it's something that Judge, you and Brad and the commissioners here, you won't have to face the same issues that you've been facing for the last couple of years on repairs and costs and budgeting and for all this stuff. You're going to get a lot of new stuff that has less breakdowns and less repair costs and operational costs, and that's one of the benefits. Energy savings, operational savings, and if you have to replace these things tomorrow, how are you going to pay for it? So there's capital avoidance savings that come into this piece of it.
As far as the financing, do you all lead that charge for us and bring to the court the different options and organizations that we could pair with?
Sure. Yeah, if you deal with CAECO or Compass or RSA, or if you deal with a local bank that you think you might want your business, we'll look at bond pools, we'll look at leasing, we'll look at the various options that you, as the treasurer, makes sense from payment back for this process. Keep in mind, too, these things are set up. If it's a 9-month construction period and we finish 9 months from now, I don't know what, you can set this up where you don't make your first payment till a year after. So you're actually realizing the savings that we put in here before you make your first payment.
But you're right, we can do that for you.
Okay.
CAECO has been really good for doing these projects with us, so we know their organization. I want to end with just a quick comment. I want you to all feel comfortable. We are licensed, we hold all the certifications and all the licenses in the state of Kentucky. In fact, I think Dave and I both have master licenses. I don't know if that's a good thing for me, but I was grandfathered in. But the issue is we have all that. And Judge, I think you kind of intimated it. Years ago, somebody came up to me and said, well, Tony, how are you going to take care of your guarantees? I said, that's a pretty good question. We're fully bonded. So if someone were to blow up our building or whatever it is, we hold your guarantee in a mutual trust for the life of the guarantee. So we're good to go. So you don't have to worry about us going out of business or anything like that. We've been in business 65 years. We're in the 3rd generation. Dave's been there 38 years. I've been there 25. I have 4 sons that work in the business. One of my sons will take care of your service. Our CEO, my boss, has 2 sons. We have 38 family members that work for our company. I mean, we live and breathe in Kentucky. I am a Chesapeake County resident. I'm on the
Yeah, I was looking at the presentations, and obviously one's $4 million that has been identified, one set $1.7 million, but as part of that, it looks like in maybe the cost, are they projected cost, or are they real cost?
Those are real costs, real savings numbers, so again, if you said.
I mean, I saw light bulbs in this thing, and,
List of every light bulb,
okay.
wattage, current fixture,
So-
what it's gonna be, you can see that here.
So they are real cost and not
Define scope of
projected
work, real
cost.
costs, yeah.
That is
Okay.
what we call an investment grade audit. So that is that is capable for you to buy. If you said, Tony, we're gonna sign a contract with you today, I'd have him go out to the computer and write one up, and I'd have you sign it, and I'd live by that 3.9 million. The reality is, you're gonna pick and choose what you wanna do.
Okay, another question that kind of leads into this other, and I noticed in the competitions booklet that is, and I didn't see it in your all, so that's the question, to make sure there's not anything in the small print that I didn't go over, because it's very complicated and puts you to sleep at night trying to read that stuff. But if we choose a group, we're going to make a decision here in the next few days, or some in the very near future, of one outfit or the other, is if we choose your company, if we choose your company today, tomorrow, whenever we make the decision, and I'm going to ask the same question of the other group, and we cannot work out a contract, an agreement, I didn't see any cost in there from your company that you would hold us responsible for.
There is no breakage fee.
I didn't see, there's nothing, no small print, no,
As we approach this, I mean, we understand the risk that may happen, and we're fine with that after looking at this. It's a good program. Everybody seems bought in, so that's a risk that we're willing to take, and that's why we fully engineered this thing up front, and provided you that investment grade audit ahead of time.
The reason I asked that, in competitors' booklet, there is a section that doesn't identify a dollar amount, but said there is a fee in that scenario. So I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. You don't have anything anywhere. Okay,
You don't owe us a nickel.
right.
For anything that we've done up to this point, hopefully you'll owe us some money when we come and do the job. Just so you know that your financing piece pays us. So once you get it all financed and ready to go, that's how they will pay us based on progress billing, based upon your approval.
If you go through a bond pool, yeah.
You go through a bond. So, it's your bank, so you don't pay us anything. Now, you might think that's a crazy business strategy, but I call that our competitive advantage. Because we got the tools and resources to put those things together streamlined fairly effectively.
Thanks.
The one thing I do need to ask, looking through this, and I agree, reading both proposals will kind of put a strain on your brain, but the one thing is that the Perfection Engineering, the company permit that you submitted is showing expired. Can you by today confirm that it's actually valid? Because it expired, and if we're going to be making a decision, we need to make sure that the company can actually operate in Kentucky.
No, and that's my insurance company's fault. That should not be that way.
When we may have picked
Okay.
the wrong file.
Probably picked the wrong
Sure.
file.
If you can, just try to confirm that today. Get some type of document to us. No, yep. I'm sure you're good to go, but for the court's position, we need to make sure we verify that.
And
Okay.
Nick, who does Nick need to send that to? Brad or you?
You can send it, yeah, if you got an email, you can send it to Brad. That way he can get it to us.
Okay. Good deal. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
appreciate it,
Appreciate your
gentlemen.
time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good presentation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, you can have this one right here. How's that? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the presentation. Nick, thanks, man, appreciate it.
You want me to tell Teresa to come up?
I'm,
You want me to tell Teresa to come up?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
yeah, that'd be fine.
I just told them that we picked you.
Great.
When do you want this?
Friday, if they feel like they can do that. Friday? Dude, I mean, it won't take long. I don't know,
I know,
it's kind
I
of
understand
academic.
that, I don't like it on there. Have to go downstairs. Have to go downstairs or wait.
Okay,
Yeah. Is that good?
yeah, they're here. Oh, I won't drop it. That will be expensive.
Yeah, we're missing one.
Absolutely.
Sorry you have to wait.
Let's hope I don't knock this off. Making sure I got it right.
Okay. I think we're ready.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good morning, Judge Neal and
Good
members
morning.
of the court. You ready for me to start, or are you gonna wait a sec? You hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Need to stay close to the mic? Okay. Well, good morning. ESG, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And I want to share with you a lot about ESG and what we can do. My name is Teresa Barton, and I am the Senior Account Executive ESG. You know, as we were preparing the presentation, we looked at the format, so I want to go through a few things that we'd prepared. And one of those was I looked at, you know, when I sat in, you know, your seat, Judge Neal, I wanted to know what was important to me as my community. You know, what was important to me when I served in your role. And I wanted to make sure that I put this project in perspective. I wanted to look for the who, and that who is the right firm to handle the job that has the best qualifications, who has the references and the competence. I want to look at what this will mean to my constituents, and yes, ultimately the taxpayers of Marshall County. The other thing I wanted to make sure that I relayed to you is, you know, how can I make this project the best that it can be with the limited resources? We all know how precious they are. Doc, you've served many years in a public capacity, and others have as well. So I know that's very important to you. So today I really intend to review the who, the what, and the how for you. In the interest of time, we do have a technical response, which is in your presentation. We did not prepare a technical response, and I'll tell you a couple reasons why. The interest of time, you know, we're told 15 minutes or so. And the other part is there's a lot of proprietary and confidential information about how we prepare a project and what we do within a project. But since we do not have anyone else in the audience, if we want to talk technical at the end, we'll be happy to if that's okay. Okay, the first thing I want to really talk about is the local team. We have a local presence, and I know how important it is really to have that local presence. Now, I say local, I'm out of Frankfurt. I think you all know that, and I can talk in just a moment about how that will work with you. But I'm picking the right partner who's readily available, who can be here, who can do the project management at a moment's notice, who can be here within an hour. I know that's important to you. And they're here with me here today. We have all our team over here. Don't intend to bring them up just because, like I said, in the interest of time. But their profiles are on page 21 through 27 in the binder if you'd like to look at that. And our areas of expertise, they're on pages 28 through 30. So we're in close proximity. What does that really mean to you? We have been in West Kentucky for really over a decade just doing performance contracting, not mechanical work, not other things. What we do is energy savings performance contracting. We've worked at KCTCS, we've done other counties, we have done schools in West Kentucky. I did the 9 resort parks in West Kentucky as well under a performance contract. As I said, KCTCS, Western State Hospital, and the Department of Corrections. So I will talk about Frankfurt in just a moment and me living there and the benefit that's going to be to you. The RFP said NAESCO preferred. Unlike our competitor, we are an ESCO that is NAESCO accredited, not just an association member. You know, this is a rigorous examination of our technical competence, our business practices, and it's really careful review of our materials in consultation with our customers. So this accreditation doesn't come lightly. We have been reaccredited recently, been accredited since 1999, and Greg Collins, our president, also serves on this board. I think another important designation is the TVA PPN. We are a preferred partner network with the TVA, and really what this means to you is that us as a full-service engineering firm, and there are very few of those who are the PPN, we have provided over 56 projects, and I say over because they have documented 56 on the website, but we are still in the midst of providing more rebates and incentives to other companies or to other public sector areas. And also, I think the magnitude is extremely important. We have provided more than $5.5 million back to those customers. So I think that's important to you as well. And keep in mind, that goes directly back to Marshall County. That would not come to us. And that's in our proposal. I think right now we have probably a very conservative estimate of about 20,000, somewhere in that range. So anyway, I think the TVA PPN is something that's really important to know. So the additional designations listed at the bottom there, that just shows you that we have a strong performance, a great track record, that we have done over $2 billion, and that's with a B, in almost 25 years of guaranteeing projects. I know our competitor can't say they've been guaranteeing projects that long. That's just not true. What we do is we serve as the owner's representative. That's exactly who we are and what we do. We do that all along the way. So I want to talk a little bit about understanding your objectives. You know, we tried to take a moment to make sure that we looked at your website. I got a chance to talk with each of you. I wanted to find out what was important to you for Marshall County. You know, what is it that you would want to do and accomplish in this project? So I tried to take everything that I heard from you, and also the folks who operate these facilities, the people who run them, you know, like Jayla Ford, to make sure that I understood what Marshall County wanted to accomplish with this project. You know, what we believe that we heard was you want to reduce your operating expenses. I think that goes without saying. You want to make sure that you increase your operational efficiency. We all want to do that. It's being a smart steward of taxpayer dollars. Upgrade your facilities and infrastructure. And I think probably what I see the most is a fiscally responsible project. And that's something we are known for at ESG. We take it very seriously that, you know, this is your money and we want to make sure that it's spent wisely. So how are we going to do that? Our intent is to reinvest in the local economy. If you look at the slide, there's just a couple things that I want to make sure I point out is, you know, impacting the local economy in a positive way. As I said, we're local. The way ESG manages projects, we make sure that every dollar that we can recirculate back in this community is put back into Marshall County. We support the local tax base. We oftentimes will find anyone we can that has the firm with the qualifications to make sure that local tax base is supported and the jobs are there. We hire local partners, many of which you work with now, we've worked with for decades. We've worked with them over the years in other parts of the state, Indiana, all around this whole area. And what does that do? In turn, that revitalizes the county assets because we know that's important to you. It's your most, it's really your most precious assets next to your employees. And of course, I understand how they are the most important. That is certainly my view as well. So reinvesting in the local economy, I think, is a critical component of how this project would be handled by ESG. So the next step after selection would be confirming that we have thoroughly assessed the needs. Keep in mind that what we provided in your binder is a preliminary assessment. As I said, it's a technical response that we did not prepare for during this presentation, thinking we did not want to reveal. But since we are here, just us, we'd love to talk to you at the end, ask some questions possibly. Our response starts on page 71 of the binder. So we would review the needs and objectives to make sure that we clearly understand what you have as a priority. While we understand what we have found, we'll provide that to you. We'll have discussions. We'll sit across from you. It'll be a very collaborative project. We will have that give and take. We will explain to you what doesn't have a payback and what does, what's realistic and what is not. So that customer collaboration is critical. And then now I want to talk a little bit about the extensive coordination. When you work with counties, you need to understand county government, and I think I know as well as anyone, serving the time that I did, the important things of county government and how they operate. I understand budgets. Emily, I know how hard it is to keep budgets on track, make sure that every dollar is accounted for. And that's something that we will help you do along the way. So on the extensive coordination, the state local debt officer at DLG, we want to make sure that you have someone who knows how to handle the hearings. They're there with you all along the way holding your hand. The Department of Corrections, your local jail inspector, Chris Holt, we work closely with him to make sure any installation that we advise or recommend, that is approved, that is penal code appropriate, and that there would not be a problem with us making that installation, of course, with your approval. The labor cabinet, while prevailing wage has been repealed, you may have some constraints or issues that you would like to work around the labor cabinet, so we can work certainly with Secretary Ramsey if necessary. Administrative Office of the Courts. This is, to me, is a big one. This is something that I was the first in the state to do, and we did it at McCracken County, and it's very important. As you know, your judicial center, it is occupied 80% by the judiciary. We have been successful in developing a memorandum of agreement with the Administrative Office of the Courts to make sure that you're held harmless in future years. Because what happens when you reduce your utility expenditure, the formula changes, your reimbursement will go down. I will help you be assured that working with AOC that would not happen to you. And I think one of the most important things at the very end is about the financing vehicle. What I will do is, if you would like, of course, is issue an RFP on your behalf seeking financing entities to submit their rates, their terms, and all the other conditions. While we're not a financial advisor, we do have an expert, Ted Edgar, in our office, who's the Director of Finance, and he will help with that RFP together for you. We can solicit local banks. Of course, Ross Sinclair, been a very good partner along the way when it comes to financing, and CAECO, that is certainly an option as well. So that is something that I will make sure that is handled along the way. One other piece that is not on this presentation, though, is HBC, Housing Building Codes. Being in Frankfurt, I can always expedite those documents, make sure if there's anything that needs to be hand-delivered, working closely with them to make sure that your approvals get pushed through the process. So what can you expect from ESG in a project? We have a few testimonials. This is not exactly a testimonial from Judge Leeper. Matter of fact, we have a meeting as soon as this is over to go to McCracken County for one of our final meetings. But I think you all know Judge Leeper. You know, with close proximity, it's a very conservative fiscal court. Something that was extremely important to them was to make sure that it was a fiscally responsible project. So at every step of the way, we had a gut check to make sure this is how you want to spend your money. These are your priorities. This is exactly what you want to be handled. This is very closely aligned with what we see happening here in Marshall County. There's a lot of mechanical that needs looking at. There are a lot of details that we need to make sure that you get the most efficient installation that will serve you well. And that's what we did at McCracken County. Here you're going to see a quote from Mr. Logan at the City of Covington. To whom it was a feasible project based on their specific goals. And I see that closely aligned with what I've been hearing here at Marshall County. But also the same thing with Judge Moore. Judge Moore, again, it's a very conservative area in northern Kentucky at Boone County. They wanted to make sure they got the best return on their investment. And I think the management was extremely important. We have Ryan Baker with us today, and Ryan is one of those project managers who just he really makes sure that the customer is first. He makes sure that everything that we do and installed is, first of all, there's less disruption. These are facilities that operate not only 24/7 like the jail detention center, but also that you have folks coming and going to the courthouse. So that's exactly what we did at Boone County. And I included one last testimonial here, and this is Gunvin Shaw. He's with the Department of Corrections. Well, I realize that the jail here, the detention center, is not the magnitude of some of the correctional facilities. I wanted you to understand that we understand the protocols, the security, the safety when it comes to handling tools. Anyone who goes in and out of those correctional facilities, that they understand what they need to do. And I'll be very frank with you, ESG has more correctional experience of doing performance contracting than anyone else in the Commonwealth. We have done more state corrections and local facilities than anyone. And I'll stand here and say that we are second to none when it comes to our performance and our professionalism. So why is all this important to Marshall County? You know, I can't help but every time I go toward the judge's office, I see that plaque on the wall, and we all love Mike Miller. And, you know, he said, I want to make Marshall County the best community on God's green earth. You know, and I feel that passion for you. Local government is certainly a passion for me. It's something that I've worked in community service, state government, local government, you know, my entire career till I came to ESG. And making sure that the tax dollars are spent wisely is something that it's a passion for me as well. You know, I don't want to get up here and tell you some, passion story, but there's nothing more important than our local communities, what is home and what feels good to you. And I want to make sure that our project, when we get involved, it does the same for you, that you're proud of the project. You know, I wouldn't work for just any company. When I left local government and state government, I wanted to be with a firm who I believed in, who I believe had integrity, competence, and professionalism. And that's what I did when I joined ESG. So this is not just about me. We want to tell you a little bit about our firm and what we do and how we handle projects. So with that, I could go on and tell you about other things that we are, but I think at this point, letting you have an opportunity to ask us questions specifically about what you would like to hear, what our project is made of. I can bring up our technical team, let them talk a little more detail about what our findings are, and if that's acceptable to you. I want to thank you for your time, though. Really do appreciate it. Okay.
There may be some technical questions. I know one of the things that we had talked about at the jail is, and I think you guys have it outlined in your book, but basically the operation, making sure that saving energy, we don't compromise the operations at the jail, and the toilets and the showers were something that I know Roger and I had talked about. There was some concerns, and we want to make sure that we put the right piece of equipment in so that his operations don't get compromised. But I think you outline that in there. Is the in the water conservation or savings, is the toilet that is recommended, I think it's the last group was like 4.5 gallons is what's currently coming in with the toilets that he's got down at the jail. Who can speak on that? Is that
I'll get Craig. He could talk
Craig?
about
Okay.
a little more detail. This is Craig Roberts. He's one of our engineers on the job.
That I am.
Can you speak on the what would best fit our jail as far as the
So there were two main options that we were debating between, and what we calculated with was using a 3.5 gallon flush, basically per flush, obviously.
Right.
You can go with a 2.5, but we calculated using the 3.5 because we weren't sure we wanted to change your operations that much. It's going to sound different because you're running less water. It's going to feel different. People may not be comfortable with 2.5, and so we wanted to make sure we were conservative before we talked to you, and so we put 3.5. That was how we ran the toilets anyway. When it comes to the showers, we used a different, we budgeted in a little bit of a different flow rate for that as well.
Okay. One thing that I don't think we did bring up in the last presentation, and I just thought of it actually, when we do pick a company, the actual contractor that goes into the jail, say that replaces the item, is there any control as far as how much time? Obviously, you can imagine he's got a room that needs some upgrades, and he's got individuals in there that he's got to move around. The time that, you know, a day, 2 days,
Right.
how and,
He just got done with
sure, sure.
Project manager for McCracken County project, and we did their pods in a day. We moved,
You did that
inmates.
with in mind.
Do what?
You did that in mind, knowing that they have.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And all that was coordinated ahead of time. We understand you guys have more people than you want in there, more people than we need in there to get work done efficiently. So we also did the lighting at the same time we did the water, so we weren't entering the pod twice. You know, cut down on some of that movement as well. So a lot of that's going to be coordinated very, very, or in advance of that work. And we'll try to line up as much work as possible, lighting, the water, anything else in that area, so that we can get in there once and be done. So.
And have it all done, because I know, so it'd be electrical infrastructure that needs to be changed, all that would be coordinated.
Yes, sir.
Because I can see where that would put a burden on the facility trying to manage
It
the
absolutely,
pods.
absolutely, that was their concern. Maintenance folks there in McCracken County, they came first meeting, hey, we can't move these guys, you know, just anywhere. I can't put them on the sidewalk, you know, for the day and expect, you know, to get things done. So we work with them very closely on critical areas. They had a lot of toilets, showers that weren't working already, so that became their priority pod, you know, and they worked with us, and they said, hey, one day we'll work, and, you know, they'd call me at 6 a.m. and say, look, we just can't do it. So we just, you know, diverted. We'd go do work at the courthouse, and then, you know, hey, the next day it's gonna work. We got people coming in to help us, you know, so we just worked around their schedule, so.
The personnel,
And we asked the other group the same thing, and I brought this up to Judge Neal yesterday, and this may have been a myth that I heard, but is there a limitation on how many times the toilet can be flushed in a particular amount of time or something?
Yeah, well, depending on the system, you can limit the number of times they'll time out.
In ours, we did not because of how they're set up.
Okay, okay. Yeah, the ones from McCracken, you can press the handle, I think, 2 or 3 times, and then you're not getting any more. But like Craig was saying, this system that they designed here is the 3.5, and it doesn't have a timeout on it, so.
You guys have a lot more inmates per pod, right? So you're.
Well, McCracken County has a whole lot more.
Well, right, but you've only got one toilet.
Yes. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
McCracken County has a lot more toilets.
Correct. So we limit them because they were pressing, they're just, you know, bored and pressing buttons, and here, if you've only got one toilet, if we start limiting, you know, you may have an
Okay.
after-lunch rush, so. They're not getting into too much.
And for this collaboration, you know, we talk about communication. This is critical in the sense of, you know, we sit across from you. He lives in that facility. He and his staff, they know exactly what happens. We make sure that the things that we recommend are workable and doable. Oftentimes, we'll recommend something because it looks good on paper. Engineers are, you know, they're brilliant. You haven't probably found any more that worked in correctional facilities that understand better in logistics. But when it comes to exactly what will happen in that particular situation, we need to sit across from you and say, Roger, is this acceptable? You know, will you have inmates angry? If you will, we will not do it. If it's acceptable, that's what we'll do and we'll recommend. Does that make sense? So I hate to say it depends, but it truly does.
Sure.
And that's a conversation we have in private together and what's acceptable.
your personnel or subcontractors, they're vetted for security issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. We do background checks. We can either do that through, I understand you don't have HR, but we can either do that through you or we do that individually. Again, I'm in Frankfurt through the AOC. Happy to do that and be right there to do the drive-through with the names and pick them up and provide them to you without us even viewing them if you'd like. We can work with you in whichever manner is appropriate. Yes, sir.
Teresa, I asked the other group, as Roger said, some of these questions we've asked to both groups.
Sure.
And the cost in here, you all as I asked them, July 11th and 12th, had a walkthrough together of these facilities and so forth, and came up with these programs, energy savings that you all found and identified in that very short time walkthrough and so forth. And my question to the other group was that one is significantly bigger, larger numbers than the other one is. But it is my understanding, and I got my answer there from the other group, and just going to ask the same questions. But when we choose a contractor, you all or the other group, the next step is we sit down, and as I said before, we go through the buffet in these books. We don't have to, we're not selling or buying what's in this book. We're just buying any portion of that, nor your competitor. It is not it's kind of like a buffet. We sit down and identify what we want to do from what you all have identified in your walkthroughs, and then we select our priority.
Absolutely, Doc. The way it works, as I mentioned, collaboration, that is so key, and that communication from us on our findings. We'll tell you what we have found, what we've identified. It comes down to priorities. It comes down to what the energy savings will pay for and what the fiscal court is willing to finance. And that's honestly what it comes down to. We have a lot of great ideas. There are a lot of ideas out there. We've talked to some subs who have worked with you. They have ideas. We don't buy all their ideas because we have reasons, and we can explain those one-on-one. When we sit down and vet. We look at that menu, as you call it, or the buffet, the menu, if you call it, of those measures. They're called energy conservation measures. We try to save you the most money we possibly can without compromising your operations. That's what's really so critical, because oftentimes you'll have someone, they'll sell you, I hate to say, a bill of goods on what they can save. Oh, we can save all this money. We can't save it if you don't spend it. And we can only save so much because you do have consumption, and you will have consumption. But if we do the best job we can at the best technology you can afford, then that's exactly where you have that ideal project. And we've been very successful at accomplishing that.
That kind of leads into my next question that I asked the other group also. Are these, in these manuals, are your costs, are they projected or are they real cost?
The savings or the costs?
The cost.
Okay. Would you like to address that, Rory or Craig, on the costs? They've spoken with the subs in more detail than I have. I want to make sure that they clearly address the question.
Right.
Okay.
So some of it was, very little amount of it was estimated based on past experience with certain measures. Obviously, you don't have time to quote out every item in the job in such a short time frame. But the bigger items, we made sure to check with the mechanical contractors and create a real budget for those items. And so what you're seeing is a very close cost to what we believe it will cost. And what you're seeing for the savings is exactly what we have calculated at this point using those measures. So.
Okay, I also asked the same questions to both outfits, but at the end, if we do choose your outfit, and I asked the other people that were here, presenters, because I did not see that in their proposal, but if we choose you all and we cannot agree upon a contract, then you all mentioned there is a fee, didn't mention what it was, and can you expound on that a little bit?
Absolutely. What we do once if we're selected, there's something called a project development agreement. And that agreement basically says that we will start development of the project. We will start investing engineering time, engineering resources, and there, of course, is a cost to our company. We have to keep our doors open. It is not an exorbitant fee. It's an amount that we would negotiate and talk about individually. And of course, with the help of the county attorney to make sure that, you see exactly where our charges would be. So should you say, you know what, we just can't come to an agreement, we don't want to do this, we have some small breakage fee for our time and our development costs. We're in business to do good jobs and do good work. I don't know that we've ever, or rarely ever, David, you probably answer the question, has someone walk away when they see what it's going to do for their facilities, the money you're going to reinvest, and that's rolled in, that development cost is rolled just into the contract as part of our engineering fee. So there would be a small fee attached, and that, of course, is negotiable. It's always very reasonable. They did it in McCracken County, Greene, Paris. You know, that's, it's an expected fee. That makes sense in performance contracting.
I did also, when I contacted you yesterday or day before, or
Yes.
maybe last week, and I did the same thing with the other company.
Sure.
I asked you for references, and you gave me, phone numbers and contact numbers.
Yes.
I think yours was Boone County and Judge Gary Morris that was up there, and I had a 45-minute conversation with him, and he was very complimentary of
Good.
you all and the projects and so
Very
forth.
good.
And now, that had been some time ago
It had.
since that project, but, so he said he slept a couple of times since then, but, and I also did the same thing with the Perfection Group and got a contact, and that contact was in Carter County with, Mike Malone, and had the same conversation with him and asked him the positives and the negatives and, what went wrong, or because any project, everything's not gonna be perfect, and what went wrong and what were the responses of, the different companies and so
Sure,
forth. So it was
absolutely.
very enlightening and conversation. I appreciate you giving me those contact numbers as well as Perfection.
I'm glad you took the time. Appreciate that very much.
On the MMV, do you have the maintenance? Am I missing the maintenance is built into this?
Measurement verification, that portion of it?
Well, yeah, I see the MMV, and it's basically, there's no cost throughout the term. Now I'm looking at the 15-year term. But then the annual support service cost, which is $19,000.
That's a measurement verification. We don't.
Okay.
That's the measurement verification, support services, yes, sir.
Okay, so, but there's no maintenance, built into this as far as?
We did not build in a maintenance contract. We know that's something that we had talked about early on, but really until we designed the project to find out exactly what brand you would like, that's where the maintenance would come in should you want to have a maintenance contract in the future. It's always a good idea to consider that. We'd like to look at someone local for you, so you would have that immediate response, not someone, from very far away or out of state or, across the state for that matter. But yes, we can absolutely include that. We could look to see if it could be paid for out of savings. It's probably a stretch. My engineers are probably kicking me. But it's something that we'd absolutely investigate for you and make a strong recommendation. And I guess there's one other thing that I'd like for them to talk about, though, is what our hope is to design a system that we can provide the level of training to your mechanical staff or other staff that you may have, so you would minimize those costs. That really would be our goal. That would be very beneficial to you in the long run to make sure you're on a maintenance schedule. Something we even tossed around coordinating would be preventive maintenance. I can't get it out. I want to say preventative, and I think it's preventive maintenance, that you would have not only iPads that, tech and the other staff could have to make sure you change filters, you looked at belts, you did all the things that are important to make the mechanical run in its optimum capacity. So those are other things that we're researching and looking at that we would like to consider as a recommendation. But again, it's preliminary, and that's why it's a little bit difficult. Did that answer the question, Judge?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to ask, and I think you've got it built in at no cost, and obviously the maintenance would be just like the other group. It would be something that can be worked out if we chose to go that route.
Yes.
But I guess the cost for the annual cost is $19,000 based off of this. For you've got the annual support service cost.
That's the measurement verification fee. I'm probably have one of the technical guys explain a little bit more, but what we put in our preliminary proposal was we evaluated the energy conservation measures, and based on those measures, by law you shall measure and verify. We chose what we believe the correct protocol that would be most cost efficient, but also give you good data and information, know that you achieved your savings. So when Emily and her staff were looking at the bills and paying them, that you did achieve your savings. So that's where we went through the measure and verification process. We evaluated the measure, and then we applied one of those protocols, A, B, C, or D. that we thought would be the correct way to measure that, and then there's a cost attached to that. You know, we don't make profit and margin on the M&V. We do it because it's required by law, and we also guarantee that. You know, we've been guaranteeing projects for well over 20 years. We have long-term guarantees on the books, and we've met them. So, does that answer? I can get more detail if you want technical on the protocols and how they work.
Who would that be?
I can have Roy, Craig,
Don't matter?
Ryan, any of them. Our gentlemen are good.
So in this case, we used a lot of option C, which is direct utility bill tracking. So we'll work with your utility companies and get a direct bill straight from them, or work with Emily and get it all figured out. And then we take it into our internal group, who then uses a program called Energy Cap that will then adjust your utility bills to match the base year. I'm using my hands to talk, so. So basically you adjust the utility bills to match the base year. And so what's happening is a year from now, it may be much hotter. And so you're gonna be using more energy then than you are this past year, which will be our base year. And so we have to adjust for the number of days you have to cool the building, the number of days you have to heat the building, things like that. And so we take that into consideration to make sure it matches, and then we decide, okay, is it fair? Are we actually achieving the savings that we promised? And if we don't, we write the check. So.
And that's where, if you're guaranteeing the savings, if it's above, then when you say you write the check, then.
If it's above what we're expecting, then it's in your pocket. Right.
That kind of answered my question, or part of it that we'd ask the other group also. I just noticed that one of the proposals had a M&V for 3 years, and certainly I think there needs to be some kind of measure and verification that you're doing what you said you'd do, and so that and meet your guarantee and so forth. But I asked them why just 3 years, and if you extend it over, I saw the cost in your all's proposal. There's a $19,000 cost, as the judge said, which amounts to, you know, about $300,000 over a 15-year period, but you think it's necessary to track that to the end of the 15 years, or where apparently the other group thought, you know, their explanation was, you know, you have seen that there is a pattern there, and it's holding true, and you know, are you spending money wisely down the road by continuing to spend that extra $250,000? And that was a question I had for them.
I mean, it's a valid point. If you've seen the savings after 3 years and you completely believe that your staff are going to continue to operate the same way and you're going to be fine.
But that's up to us if we select and choose a contract. That's not mandatory.
Right.
Okay, I just didn't understand that.
Yeah, you can choose to end it at any point. If after the first year you're comfortable, you can end it.
Okay.
But let me also explain, Doc, that most ESCOs will show in a preliminary evaluation that measurement verification fee for the term of the contract. We are guaranteeing that you're going to achieve those savings over the term. That's why we're very good at what we do. Should you choose at some point, you say, again, we've achieved those savings, we've seen it over and over, year after year. There's no reason we believe we should spend that extra money. Let's pocket it, save it, or better yet, not spend it. You know, put it in our reserves. That is certainly up to you. It does happen with state government, but again, most ESCOs traditionally will show that for the term, because there is a guarantee for the term. They don't put that back into the facility or into the project to spend it some other way. We'd rather you save it, because that's our goal of being fiscally responsible.
On a 15-year note, either, you know, if you compare what we've heard today, the difference is about $600,000 if we choose to go 15 years with the other company. I know 300,000, it's 285 with this fee, 19,000 for 15 years, which is 285,000. But if we chose to go with a 15-year note with the other group, what they're proposed, it'd be about $600,000 difference. So, you know, for us, it is, and we've all said it, sitting down and reading both binders, it really is, there's a lot of information, and we want to make sure that we're getting the best for the county. Because that's the one thing that I think is important for us, is to make sure, one, we can identify what our needs are, but two, we're getting the best service that we can get at the best price. One thing that I did notice, the certification that y'all do have allows you to have TVA incentives. Can you expand on that, if any?
I can explain what I know, maybe one of the more technical guys. The incentives and rebates are something that most utilities, well, a lot of utilities offer. Us being an energy service, actually, we're a full-fledged engineering firm when it comes to TVA. To me, it's a very important designation. You have I think 2 facilities in the TVA territory, if I'm correct. And we have folks on staff who are very good at analyzing and making sure that we get every piece that you can. There's something called a custom incentive. They're standard incentives that you can apply for, and you'll get some money. But the custom incentives are something that's not just a prescribed item that's on their list. Something that's more specific to you. We could tailor that for lighting, for your HVAC, electrical, anything else that you would save money. And that money goes back to you in your pocket. What they have documented, well, I know that Ben, one of our guys who's handling it back at the office, we have completed 56 projects, and I know more are in the hopper right now. And for our customers, we've been able to bring back $5.5 million to them directly. So it's an important designation.
And who was that customer? Or?
Oh, no. This is all of ours, all
All
the clients
the total
together.
customer.
Yes,
Gotcha.
it's not just one.
Okay.
It's anyone in the TVA territory that ESG has worked with. We have applied to the Tennessee Valley Authority for those incentives and rebates. And there's money right now sitting there. So, every year is a new year, so there are no guarantees on that. But I want to make it was a very important designation.
Now, is there a window for those incentives as far as when you can have access to them?
I didn't go to this last communication they had. David, did you? They have money still here for this year.
There's a lot of funds this year, so no guarantees for next year, but there's guarantees to be a lot before October.
Okay, so they're on the federal, you're talking about the federal calendar year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And all you have to do is have an application in. You don't have to perform the project by October.
Yeah,
Okay.
The first thing we would do if selected, we would go ahead and start putting together some of those measures that we think would be important to get the application to DVA, so we can go ahead and get that earmark, get it clicked on that.
Sure. So
like to
there
reserve
are
it.
some potential dollars out there that we can tap into to help.
Absolutely, yes. And we did not incorporate that into our cash flow.
Sure.
Okay.
No, I think Brad identified that, and we just wanted to explore that and see what type of, obviously, getting some monies, getting some support is always good, so we just wanted to explore that.
Yes. May I address the price differential, if that helps
Sure.
you any? Not that I've seen their proposal or have any clue, and I'm not trying to compare projects not knowing what they have outlined for you. But preliminary cash flows are just that. They're preliminary. They're based on what we found, what we believe are your priorities. These are dynamic facilities. They change all the time. Someone may have an idea to do a roof, and someone may say your roof has more life in it. Someone may want to do something significant with HVAC, whereas we think we can do a modification, maybe some commissioning. So there would be a difference in our observations until you're selected and you invest that engineering time. That's probably where a differential could lie, but making sure that we address those issues that are your priorities is really the difference. So that's why a performance contract is not based on price, but based on value and qualifications and credentials of the firms. It's truly how it is. It is in the procurement code. Chapter 45A outlines. I just want to make sure that you kind of understand that
Yes.
Price doesn't, I hate to say it doesn't mean anything at this stage, but it's not the deciding factor as a rule.
Right.
I can't decide for you because that may be a deciding factor for you, but that's traditionally the way performance contracting is handled.
So one of the large differences is that your numbers are preliminary because you want our feedback.
Yes.
You want us to tell you what best fits our facilities.
Absolutely. We'll give you what we believe should be priorities based on the level of maintenance, based on the age of the facilities or the age of the units or whatever the case may be, or the technology. But we'll need something back from you as, yes, that's a priority. We need to have this because, like I say, Mr. Ford over there's, he's having this issue every day. We've noticed in your mechanical calls that you have a lot of something happening in this particular area or maybe here at the courthouse. So we would identify those things for you as well. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah, it does. We actually discussed that this week. We were looking at both proposals, and that was one of the things we discussed.
Very well.
Somebody else have any questions?
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I hope we get to come back many more times.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And your decision will be down the road? Judge, your decision will be down the road sometime?
I didn't hear.
The decision will be down the road sometime?
Yes, we're going to try to make it as soon as possible.
Okay, we really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, guys.
Thank you.
I had provided the commissioners and the judge a grading sheet for the two groups. So if you all want to, we can discuss some of that now, but I think we probably need to set a special call meeting after you all feel like you've had time to go over everything and complete those grading forms and get them prepared for court.
Do y'all want to meet this Friday afternoon?
I should be able to do that.
That's good with me, Judge. Preferably earlier, the better.
I was
Or
gonna
morning.
say later, but anyway.
You just want to be contradictory.
I've got a doctor's appointment. Later would be better for me, too. Want to do 1 o'clock?
I didn't consider that later. That'd be perfect.
We'll make it 1 o'clock this Friday.
Well, we can do that. I can do it anytime.
Special call meeting just to, at this point, discuss this,
Yes.
energy.
Do you need us present on Friday for any reason?
Be up to you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be available, I'd be, in case somebody has questions. That would be up to y'all. Okay.
It's a public meeting,
Yep.
open to the public, so
Yep.
make that decision.
Okay. Let's go on to new business, non-exclusive easement, 284 Denzel Martin Road, Gilbertsville. Y'all should have seen that. We had sat down with Miss Silvernail last year, and Denzel Martin Road, actually, the road was paved pretty much up to her driveway. So there was a section of the road that's on her property that the county doesn't own. So she was asking for, we needed a turnaround so that we can do, if the road department were to go down Denzel Martin, they can actually plow the road and then turn around. So she gave us an easement, so where the road department can actually turn around on her property.
So we're gonna do a cul-de-sac or something back there?
It's just a turnaround,
Just
yes.
turn around.
She's gonna put a gate up at the end where we the actual road went up almost to her back door.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very
Yeah.
familiar with what we
Right.
went through before.
And so she's giving us an easement just to turn around there so we can, during the snow and stuff, we can turn around. There's nowhere to turn around back there and the road's real narrow.
We just need a motion for this non-exclusive easement.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Price was
Agreement and resolution on the bituminous resurfacing on various county roads, $269,059. That's CB 06 Rural Secondary Fund. Should have a copy of that. We just need a motion on it.
That was done by formula, state, that's our part of the
Yeah,
pie.
that's our part for this year.
Hopefully not all
Flex
of it.
fund, yeah.
Motion to enter into this agreement. So
Correct.
moved, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have another drawdown DRA grant, request advance. Should see that. Just to give you an update, I spoke with Kemp Morgan from DRA, and they're waiting. If you look at this drawdown, the engineers have drawn down on the grant monies, but DRA is wanting to wait and see for the county to actually put monies into the project, and then once that's done, then they'll actually release those dollars for the engineer service. Apparently, that's, as Kim said, that's been some problems, not with Marshall County, but other counties or city governments that they deal with, where monies are put down and then those governing agencies don't follow through with their commitments. So the money's there, but he's wanting to see the county move forward financially on our part, what was originally agreed to. So we've talked to Jeremy at the pad, and originally it was, they just changed their documentation and how they do business, but I called Kemp directly, and that's basically what it boils down to. If you remember, this project has been open since 2011, 2012. So moving forward, they're wanting to see some activity on this project. Obviously, the 17th is when the bids for construction will be brought in. I know we're confident that this project is moving forward as it should, but that's, if you look at the numbers on this drawdown, that's what that, you'll see that they haven't paid that out yet.
So they're waiting for us to get some skin in the game?
That's correct.
Okay, I mean, the documentation, it's been a long time since I've looked at it, or a year when we looked at it, but that grant was for $300,000.
It was for 300.
And what did the previous administration pledge?
It left about 224,000, so.
Okay. 200, so before DRA will release or let us draw down on the remaining part, the $225,000 that remains in that grant, we're gonna have to come up with $225,000? Is that what
No.
you're saying? No?
No, where we're at in this stage of the game, we approved Fiscal Court, or approved Rivercrest to move forward with engineering on the project, and that's what the drawdown is. It's for engineering. What's been submitted to Rural Water is the total project cost for the construction. Those additional dollars will be used for construction, but before DRA releases any money, because you gotta remember 2011, 2012 when this started, there hasn't been any skin in the game for the county.
Right.
So the 17th is when Rivercrest will receive construction bids, once we know what the cost is. If you remember back at the beginning of 2016, there were some bids that were put out. I think Merco, there was another.
2 different times, yeah.
So we kind of got a ballpark figure as far as what the construction cost would be, but we're moving forward on that, and we're down to, I expect by next month, that we should have the terms and conditions of what rural water is going to be sending us so that we can move forward.
So that's our skin in the game?
That's our skin in the game.
Okay.
I just wanted to advise y'all as far as the numbers. I know I've talked to Rivercrest. I hate it for them, but they understand the situation. That's just a motion to approve that request on advance for the DRA grant.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, and what will that be, amount? Is that gonna be the Rivercrest, is that what we're doing, Rivercrest Engineering dollars, or
Yeah, if you remember, we approved the.
already approved?
Yeah, and it was about $100,000 for the engineering for the project. So this is just another drawdown for their service that they've already done.
But we can't draw down yet? Until,
We can request it.
oh, okay.
They probably won't pay it from what we're being told until we
Until we
probably
have skin in
provide,
the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
we provide documentation that we got that funding
Second.
secured.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Animal shelter new hires. Autumn, you want to come up and?
I'm needing a new assistant and 2 part-time employees. So I recommend Amy Nimchick to work at the Marshall County Animal Care and Control as the new assistant, with starting at $14 an hour and starting tomorrow, 8/16. She's been with the shelter for 3 years, so she already knows how it's ran. She's been out on some animal calls also.
She was one of your part-time, right?
She was one of my part-times. She's my only part-time right now.
Okay.
So I would have to replace with 2 part-times, which I'm recommending Caitlin Jones. She can start this weekend, and Lee Monroe, who can also start this weekend.
Who was the last one?
Lee Monroe.
Lehman
He's
Rowe.
been in law enforcement. He moved here a while back out of New York, so he's used to working with inmates. And I needed one that was over the age of 21 to be able to take on during the week if we needed someone.
And the part-time is, I think, is 10/21?
10/21.
Okay. And I know that you desperately need the support. I know there's been several weeks that you've been understaffed, so
Yes.
we would just need a motion if we want to accept the full-time and the 2 part-time positions.
So moved, the
using-
recommendation.
Or second, we're still using inmates,
Yes.
and they understand they'll be working with them, and
Yes.
second.
All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just get with Brad if there's anything that she needs,
Okay.
if they're going to start tomorrow. Bids, under new business, bids for the sheriff's vehicles.
We put in the paper of record, Marshall County Tribune, on July 25th and August 1st, 2017. We did 3 different because we asked for 3 different proposals on vehicles, but I'm gonna read the one and just include the 3, because one included it all together and the other 2 separated. So we'll go this way. The Marshall County Sheriff's Office will accept bids for a pickup truck type of police vehicle for Marshall County Sheriff's Office for the following year. The Marshall County Sheriff's Office will reserve the right to reject any and all bids. A full-size 2017, 2018 4x4 police or special package rated half-ton pickup, engine police rated V8 or comparable, heavy-duty police rated suspension, left side spotlight, pre-wired police package, speed-rated tires and tow package. Also, we requested for a sedan police vehicle, a full-size 2017 or 2018 all-wheel drive police or special package rated sedan, police rated V8 or comparable, heavy-duty police rated suspension, left side spotlight, pre-wired police, and speed-rated tires. And thirdly, a SUV, full-size 2017 or 18 all-wheel drive police or special service package rated SUV, engine police rated V8 or comparable, heavy-duty police rated suspension, left side spotlight, pre-wired police package, speed-rated tires, and tow package on that. We did get in 3 different bids, one from Leon Riley Ford. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the sedan first because theirs was included, all 3. Let's see which one here. Okay, for the Police Interceptor, the Taurus version from Leon Riley Ford, cost on that is going to be $25,450. And the next on the sedan is going to be David Taylor Chrysler out of Murray. Cost on that one is going to be $25,802. And next will be Parkway Chrysler out of Benton. And the cost of the sedan from Parkway Chrysler is $25,175. Next, I'll go to the SUV. Let's see here. For the SUV, from Leon Riley Ford, be $37,100 for that.
Say that again?
$37,100.
And just so I understood what you were saying, these are actually the vehicle price with all the outfit attached to it, or just the vehicle? Just the vehicle.
Yeah, just vehicle price. Okay, from David Taylor, $29,979 on the SUV. And from Parkway Chrysler, $30,244. And on the 4x4 crew cab truck, Leon Riley Ford is $28,750. And Dwayne Taylor,
David Taylor, Dwayne Taylor.
or David Taylor, excuse me, is $25,409. And then Parkway Chrysler, be $25,918. I've got Chief Maddox here. If I would like for him to look this over, since he did all the bid specs, let him go over them, and when y'all go into executive session, I will get with him, and when y'all come out, we'll have a determination on which one.
While he's looking at that, I got a question. Well, we can wait once we hear back as far as who you want to go with. Okay, let's go on to 2017 Special District Tax Rate Certification. Emily, you want to? You got a copy of that? If not, I can read it.
I'm recommending to the court, real property be at 9.6. That amount is given to us by the state. We are allowed to take up to a 4% increase in that. But historically, the court has not done that. So I assumed that you all would not want to do that again this year. So that would be keeping you at the compensating rate that the state has recommended is 9.6 cents per $100 of assessed value for real property. Tangible or personal property tax is the rate that the court sets individually by a large mathematical calculation. And it is 9.6% also. I also have motor vehicles and watercraft for 11.2 cents. That is the same as they have been for several years as well.
I was struggling finding the right page. The real property is presently, these are your recommendations on this page.
Yes.
Again, what was the real property? What is it presently?
Real property for this year was for 2016 was 9.7.
So that's
The
lower in the tax rate. And
Well,
personal property?
Technically, it is lowered, however, it keeps you at the
Right,
same
I
income.
understand that principle,
Yes.
yeah.
And the personal property rate for 2016 is 9.8.
Others were the same.
Yes.
Would-
Approved, Judge, tax rate certification.
Second?
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Appropriations transfer.
I'm asking to move out of judicial building maintenance equipment, 500 into judicial building medical supplies, and then out of road reserves into road bridges and construction.
Motion to approve the budget appropriation transfers.
Second.
In favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Inter-fund transfer.
I meant to tell Desiree we didn't need this today. You and I discussed that, and we would wait and transfer those funds at the time that they are going to be immediately necessary.
Treasurer's report.
As of July 31st, 2017, the general fund had a book balance of $771,031.45. The road fund, $1,184,460.81. The jail fund, $279,489.20. The grant fund, $410.96. 911 fund, $91,947.74. Occupational tax administrator, $4,633,874.25. Veterans van fund, $4.69. ABC fund, $149,271.02. And building inspection fund, $30,668.20 for a total reporter funds is $7,141,158.32.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I didn't hear, but that motion should have said subject to audit.
Subject to audit.
Okay. approve payment of the bills.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The September 19th fiscal court meeting, we've got some training that day. It's an all-day training up at the dam. Does the 20th, the following day, Wednesday, fit with your schedules?
I can Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, so Wednesday.
Friday's
fine.
good with me also, Judge.
Thursday, said Wednesday.
Oh,
Wednesday,
oh,
the 20th,
uh,
9:30.
I've got another board meeting.
I have that on
I can
mine
do
too.
it, I can do it any day that week.
I mean, I've just got to, I mean, it won't last an hour. Just changing the time. I've got another board meeting at 9:30.
Well, Thursday.
I mean, well, we can do it at 10:30. Special.
The
call
20th, that's fine with me, 10:30. Y'all want to do it 10:30?
It'll be our regular fiscal court meeting.
They gave up the chisel and stone. The 20th, we'll do it September 20th at 10:30.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that right?
September the 20th?
Yes.
I mean, I was looking back, I apologize, I was looking back to Wednesday, September the 13th. I don't have anything on the 20th, so we can do it at 9.
9:30? Okay.
That's better for everybody else. I apologize, I thought you were talking about the 13th.
We'll make September 20th at 9:30.
Okay.
And then, let's see, we need to go in executive session for personnel. Need a motion to go in executive.
Before that motion, I called Wednesday to get North Marshall Water Board appointments put back on the agenda. They weren't, so I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the agenda to put that back on. We need to get that done, especially before the 90 days are up.
Well, I think if you remember, there was no action.
Right.
So with no action, it defers to the statute, which is PSC.
My recollection, it was tabled.
There was no action. I sat and asked for or against, and there was no action. So the statute says it goes to PSC.
Is Mr.
But it's-
Shadone going to be put back on the board?
There's no motion, and I don't think board appointments, I think the statute says only out of my office can the board appointments come to the fiscal court. And that's what I did. I brought you board appointments, but there were no action for or against.
I think there was comment for different board members in support of a board member, but I thought we had a 90-day, this is a legal question, I thought we had 90 days before, if we didn't decide within the 90-day time frame, that the Public Service Corporation would make that appointment.
What the statute says, it's either 60 or 90 days after the vacancy. If that vacancy isn't filled, it'll be up to PSC to fill it.
Correct. So my question to you is, does this body have the authority to make that decision within that 90-day period?
Well, the statute says the judge nominates, and then you either approve or disapprove.
Correct.
And he made a nomination, and there was no action taken. So at the end of June, that vacancy occurred.
So
And
that-
we'll,
that clock
unless-
starts ticking, and obviously, just, I would assume like a court of law, they would like you to settle out of court. So I
Well,
assume that's
it
why
doesn't I mean, in
you've got
talking
90
with,
days to make that, or
in talking
that's-
with the folks at PSC, I don't know that anyone there recollects this ever happening before, so
Yeah.
it's kind of new.
I think, in my opinion, what should have happened is there should have been when the names were presented, a motion for or against. I mean, that didn't happen. I asked,
My
either way,
recollection,
I
it's
mean.
on film. We
you
can go
could-
back and review that, but I just thought we tabled that.
No, it wasn't
I'm
tabled.
gonna visit that at another, I haven't looked at the,
In my recollection, too, I looked at it once, I'm pretty sure there was no action taken in the judgment.
I know there was
So
no
the-
action taken. We moved
The
on.
answer to your question, Johnny, is it defers the statute. But I do need a motion to go on executive session.
So moved, Judge, for personnel reasons.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Coming out of executive session, Jonathan Smith, who is a employee, had developed a medical condition that medically he cannot perform the job that he has been hired for. And the county has found another position that we can move him to work under Lyndall Groves, under his supervision. So Lyndall would supervise him. Jonathan would still remain as a county employee, and he would be working for the sanitation districts on behalf of the fiscal court. With that, I would need a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve Johnson's employment under Lindell.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, let me just back up, yeah, so we didn't budget for that, so.
Okay, yeah, that's where I was headed. And what amount? Same rate of pay?
Same rate.
What did he make there?
$14.92.
$14.92, and so that's $14.92, didn't he still make $14.92? Okay.
Okay, I can have prepared for you all an appropriation transfer next court meeting to cover the expenses associated. And will this be in a reimbursed expense, or is this, okay?
When is that effective? I know he's kind of draining the short budget the animal shelter has if we continue to pay him there, and so they're going to be, I don't know, how long has he been off out there?
Since August the 3rd.
Okay, so he has, obviously their budget's going to be a little over, because.
No, I talked to Autumn about it, and we went through the numbers, and she had plenty of cushion in her budget to.
Okay, but that's going to affect that cushion. That cushion is not going to be
Well, I mean,
as
over-
cushiony as it was, because we certainly need to remember that. She's having to pay Jonathan, and then, for coverage also, so.
Yeah, I don't think it'll, I talked to Autumn about it, and we worked out some of those details.
What was Amy's full-time rate of pay?
It was 10/21.
Will it still be?
She was not full-time, she was part-time. She will be full-time at $14.92.
No, 14.
I mean, I'm sorry, 14. Yeah, 14,
Is there like a year probation or something on her that she'll be popped to what?
She's a existing employee.
I think what we talked about was doing like a 6-month reevaluation on her performance to make sure that she's a good fit for it and Autumn feels comfortable with her performance.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
So we can, if she does get a bump, it would be at some point like that.
So the motion was on the table. Was there a second? There was a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And body armor grant, we already approved that.
Yeah, but the agreement, you've got to sign that?
Yeah. Yeah, since we approved it, I'll sign it when we're
Okay,
done.
all right. I didn't know if you needed court approval to sign that, or if
Yeah,
that's already been done or whatnot.
We've already approved it.
Okay. Well, I've got the user agreement here, so we'll just get that signed. get
Okay.
Copies and all that good stuff.
Okay. Just for the record, I know Des pulled the minutes back to June 20th and regarding the North Marshall water, and there was no action taken. got your bids?
Yeah. Of all three types of vehicles, the sedan, SUV, and the pickup, Parkway Chrysler is the bid winner on all three of those.
Okay.
Say that again?
Parkway Chrysler is the bid winner on all three of the bids for the sedan, SUV, and the pickup.
Okay, I didn't understand that if the bids were open though, but my totals didn't equal that. Did anybody else's? I
For
mean,
how much?
What,
for how much? Bid total?
Okay, for the pickup, it was 25,918.
Yep.
And for the sedan was 25,175.
Yep.
And for the SUV was 3244.
okay.
Not good.
Yeah, the Spotlight wasn't, Spotlight was not included on the SUV in the other bid. So that changed it, so
Okay,
that's
well,
why.
I mean, from the numbers read,
Yeah.
because I was prepared to,
Right.
when I added the numbers up, David Taylor was some $700 or $800 cheaper on the numbers that you opened, but I was fixing to go to bat that low is not always best.
Yeah.
Parkway Chrysler is a Marshall County business,
Right.
and for $800 more, even if they'd have been, certainly
Here's
I
my,
prefer to take
here's
the-
my question. I think that total comes
Go with
to
Parkway.
81,337, if my math's correct. But then the upfit them is about 10,000 per vehicle, give or take.
Possibly 10 to 12, somewhere in there. But I'm not looking at doing 3. I'm actually looking at doing 2 right now and looking and see what our money looks like later on and possibly getting that third one if our money holds. But right now, 2 would help us out tremendously.
Okay. And that was gonna be my question. Are these 3 coming out of the line item for the ABC, the 122,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So not the contract employee?
No,
Okay.
no.
But you got a advertisement out for a contract employee?
Yes,
So you got-
I'm looking, that one looking October 1 for one, and then looking January 1 for the second one.
Okay, so you're gonna hold off on a vehicle for that contract employee?
Well, I've got one vehicle that we've got as a spare right now, so
Gotcha.
I've got a car ready to go, but if we put for 2 vehicles and put the order in, it's 6 to 8 weeks out, so that's looking toward end of October, 1st of November before the vehicles actually arrive.
Well, why don't we do this? You've got 3 bids for 3 vehicles. Why don't we pick 2, like you said?
Yeah.
But make a motion with contingency based off of the October quarterly report that ABC brings in. And if it brings in enough money, then you can go ahead and
That's fine. Yeah.
add that third vehicle.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because that was my concern, was how we were doing
Yeah,
all this.
I knew that going into it, and that's why I was choosing to just do 2 right now
Okay.
because of that.
Perfect. Well, then,
So we're gonna do 2 of these 3?
I'm gonna determine which will fit our needs the best and just order 2 vehicles. That's why I did 3 different ones, is to get a sedan, a pickup, and the SUV. Then I will determine what I feel is best fit for us, but we're only gonna order 2 at this time.
right. He has budgeted for 3
Yes.
vehicles,
Mhm.
but it's ABC dollars.
Okay,
The
I
ABC
understand- I
dollars
understand that.
aren't there, so.
Bid hold until we can make that
So the
determination.
quarter. in
Well,
October, yeah.
obviously, we're gonna order 2 of them right now, aren't we?
That's
Yes.
what I planned on
That's
doing,
what I-
yes.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about the third one.
I'll move that we buy the 2 vehicles that the sheriff recommends at these prices from Parkway Chrysler,
With-
the local dealer.
But that other bid will still be good.
Yes, they're good for an entire year.
But if we have the ABC money, go ahead and get the third vehicle.
Yes.
With the contingency of the ABC.
Does that work
Yes,
for your motion?
yeah.
Okay, second.
And that'll be in October. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Clear as mud.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I got confirmation from the Perfection Group about their engineering permit. Apparently Kentucky stopped issuing paper permits, So if you see up on the screen, I've got an attachment that Nick had sent me for, from the.
That's their,
Yeah,
receipt.
Kentucky State Board of Licensure for Professional Engineering, and they submitted that on 12/16, so.
Okay, good.
That should be sufficient for their permitting.
Very good.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries.